Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Air 13. I want to welcome you here to XRL's Realistic Division, round 16 of the season. As we are preparing to get underway at Spain, we are off of the new circuits in the game and back to the more traditional Formula 1 tracks that have been part of the series and part of these games for a long time. Spain has been a long time been one of the main testing circuits for Formula 1. It's also been one of the most legendary circuits, at least for the first few years. However, as the cars have gotten bigger, the track has struggled to keep up. Nowadays, it is known as being a very technical and difficult circuit to navigate around and a difficult circuit to overtake at. There are only 2 DRS zones, and even at that, the main DRS zone, the front straightaway, doesn't even really let you hit terminal velocity by the time you jump down to the braking points. With that in mind, we may see a race where it's not necessarily qualifying that defines everything, but being able to minimize your mistakes and be consistent lap to lap. Because here at Catalunya, the curbs are extremely aggressive, and while there aren't a whole lot of areas where you're going to go off and immediately destroy your car completely, there is a high risk that you could go off, damage the front wing, or just lose a bunch of positions from overheating your tires. We've seen numerous times before where drivers have had what looked to be a win locked up here at Catalunya, only to lose it with a spin in the event. Also of note, and this is the most significant thing, hopefully for our last time this season, a whole lot of driver and car changes have taken place, including your points leader, who is XRL Matrix. He has been moved out of the Aston Martin that he has been so successful in. He has been moved to the Alfa Romeo team. Neither of your Ferrari drivers are here today. In fact, there are no... Oh, apparently we're going to have a wet qualifying, although they're expecting it's going to be dry for racing for the race itself. We're only looking at 16 people as well, so the top 15 fastest will automatically advance. So if someone crashes out early on, this basically will become a glorified practice session. But a whole lot of driver and car combination changes have taken place. Some of the other noteworthy ones is that, just looking here at the board right now, we see Mr. Worson. He is now Matrix's teammate. We also have Ocean Lion in a Mercedes. Frisbee is in a Haas, and Ryan Hurricane has actually been moved down to a Haas, one of the worst cars on the grid as well. So this could end up being very, very significant when it comes to Haas. They have another great driver in their camp. What can they do with it? But right now, only 16 people, and we're not really anticipating very many more to show up. With that in mind, this is going to be a relatively short, quick, and to-the-point event by the looks of it. At least for a first round qualifying. Because all it will take is one DNF for one person to just not be able to turn a lap, and it's over. Already we're starting to see other drivers come out. That is XRL Azda. He has been now moved to a reserve in the Alpine camp for today's event after he performed very solidly in the Haas last week until a late race incident caused him to drop out of the points. I would not be surprised if Azda could pull out a win here if he can just keep his machine clean to race in. BG Boldbeast is just ahead of him. He has inherited Ryan Hurricane's seat in the Williams. Also farther back in the other Williams is A. Waddington. So be looking forward to him to do stuff. One team that has not changed has been the McLaren boys, XRL Zola and XRL Dragon, which have suffered significantly with just underperforming. They are still maintaining their McLaren seats, which is supposed to be the 3rd or 4th fastest seat on the grid. They might be able to turn things around and start pulling off some stronger results with that in mind. Also, you have Jabus Young. He was in the Ferrari. He has now moved to the Aston Martin seat that was priorly held by XRL Matrix. We already have our first yellow flag of the section, and that seems to be Bullbeast, who has had an incident on the front straightaway, having a lot of issues putting the power down and keeping the tires warm going down just the main straight alone. Now we see the McLarens coming down, as is the Mercedes. That is Dave Ewart, who is coming out of the pits very slow enough, in fact, that would be XRL Dragon had to swerve. And did Dave just get hit from behind? Did Dave just get run into from behind by Zola? I thought I saw him get hit from behind by Zola. We saw Dragon have to pull and cross over the white line on pit exit to avoid the Mercedes, and I think Zola hit him. Not seeing any damage to that car, though. Maybe it was someone else. Well, Ozza's in the middle of a lap, but frustrating enough for him, he is now caught behind XRL Dragon. And with all this spray and wet weather racetrack, he runs right into the back of him, and he's going to knock off part of his wing plate. And that will invalidate Ozda's lap, and with the front wing damage, he's going to have to come in. So with that in mind, And now we see Ozda taking the exit road on the back straightaway to totally avoid everyone else. Not looking great for him, but coming around the final corners is going to be Frisbee. And in the Haas, he will be the first driver to set a time in the session. Relatively clean track. Still a very wet circuit though, and there's not a proper dry line form, so I imagine he could go faster if he stays out there. 128.821 is his first lap. Now we'll see Bull Beast coming to the line. He will go ahead and set a time of 130.639. We see a McLaren coming down to the line right now. They're getting ready to start their laps. That is Dave Ewart, who is about to start his own lap as well, as Ozda brings that car into the pits. Now the focus goes to A. Waddington, who is still up there at the top of Sector 3, now running downhill into that tight final chicane there. And there's someone who has gone off. Who is that has gone off in coming out of Turn 2? And that would be, by the looks of it, BG Bull Beast, who has gone off right after setting a lap. And is waiting a bit to get back onto the proper racing line, it seems, so that way he doesn't invalidate someone else's time. Now we see Jabez John, he's in the middle of a lap right now, coming to the line. He'll try and be the 5th driver to set a time. The spread at the top is massive, nearly 2-second difference between Frisbee and Bull Beast right now. Haas drivers seeming very strong and very confident in that machine at the moment. .130.438 for Jabez John, and now coming to the line, that will be Mr. Worsen, but he has invalidated his prior lap, so behind him will be Jigsaw in the Alpine. It's a 129.004, and now we see Frisbee has improved his lap time at the top, 128.154, as a dry line has now begun to form on the circuit. XRL Zola and XRL Dragon now both coming to the line to set their laps. Dragon will qualify a time up of 129.786. He'll be joined right afterwards by his teammate Zola. Zola in the other McLaren is coming across the line with a 129.249. So McLaren's right now 4th and 6th fastest. Now we see another driver across the line very shortly here. That should be XRL Matrix. Matrix will set a time 129.421. Ozda, Torpedo, and Lowe all out on circuits, getting ready to get laps in. What we're going to do is we're going to follow... Oh, and there's that Haas. Yes, Frisbee is pulled over there very abruptly. Now Hurricane crosses the line. He moves up into the 128, so the 28.870. But what we're going to do is... Oh, and there's a spin. There's been a spin in Sector 1. And that is the Williams of BG Bulby. So he got a lap in early, but he has struggled to do anything else since then. It's been spin after spin in Sector 1. But as I said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to spin the lap on board with XRL Torpedo here, who was in the Ferrari camp earlier. He actually requested to be moved to a slower car, so he's been moved to the AlphaTauri. We're going to spin a lap on board with XRL Torpedo and see what he can pull off here at Catalunya. Alright, and that's a full lap on board with XRL Torpedo and the AlphaTauri, a 128.970, which leaves him just 1/10 off of Ryan Hurricane. He currently has the 5th fastest time. XRL Flavor and the Hondas just crossed the line. He is in the middle of a lap right now. 12 of our 17 drivers have made laps thus far. At the moment, it seems like if you're in the 28s, you'll be safe. 29s, it might be a little bit more iffy. Jigsaw has now jumped up to 2nd with a 28.577. Mr. Worsen is 3rd with a 28.597. 4th is still Zola with his 28.673. Ryan Hurricane has been gradually pushed down to 5th with a 28.870. Now we see coming out of the final corner now and into the pits is XRL Dragon, as he will bring his car into the pits. BG Bullbeast has come back out onto the circuit in the Williams. He's going to try and go faster. He is the only driver right now still in the 130 range. Beastie and an Ocean Lion are still in the pits. Flavor in the middle of his lap right now. And right on board Flavor, you can see farther up the road is Mr. Worsen in the Alfa Romeo. XRL Matrix, his teammate, only has the 9th fastest time thus far. But Matrix's strength, although he has been very anxious and very concerned about... Oh, and there's an instant! That's Ryan Hurricane, who has had a spin coming out of turn number 2. And there is front wing damage. The winglet on the left front of the car has been knocked off the machine. And he was just about to go for another lap. This will invalidate and significantly harm his ability. And Torpedo now goes to the top with a 27.755. It seems like the AlphaTauri Honda suits his abilities very nicely in the rain at the moment. So now only 17 drivers are on set. There are only 15 drivers who have set times. BG Bullbeast with a 30.639 is in the drop zone. This man here, Ocean Lion 08 in the Mercedes, is trying to make something happen. Need to be very careful through this set of corners. You start going uphill. It's a near 90-degree left-hand corner, then a quick flick to the right uphill, then a high speed, well, more like a medium, so it feels high speed, blind uphill right-hand corner. It's very easy to lose yourself in that sector of corners. We see many drivers knock off wings, knock off wheels, knock off winglets, all sorts of stuff there. I'm sure somebody has probably even lost their lunch in that part of the track as well. Level 6 Beastian still on pit lane. BG Bullbeast has also come back into pit road. So Ocean Lion, who is on an out lap right now, as is Waddington and Dragon, are going to try and get a lap in here to try and squeeze Bullbeast out. Flavor is 14th right now, so he is also at the risky point with a 129.809. There's been a spin, and that's in Sector 2, and that would be in the exact section I was talking about. That's Ozda, and Ozda has had an instant in the very part of the racetrack I was saying be concerned about. We see him, as we're right on board with him in the Alpine, because the camera angle won't show us a better angle. He takes the off-road, so that way he's away from everyone else. Thankfully, the track is clear. Show us the car. Let us see what kind of damage the car has already. Thank you. No, game, for God's sake. Game is stupid. Game is stupid. Let us see how the car looks. Don't leave us on this camera. Let us see what the damage to the car is. Is there even damage? We don't know. We can't tell you. We saw him off. There we can now see the car. It looks like there is no damage to the machine. All the front wing is together. However, he is very low on fuel. He'll have to pit irregardless. And the man with the 7th fastest time thus far will drag that machine back into the pits. As we turn our focus now to Ocean Lion, who is running around through the final corners. He's at the top of Sector 3 right now, and then it's a series of 90-degree corners, almost all of them downhill or relatively flat. Through the final chicane, and now down to the final corner. Here comes the Mercedes of Ocean Lion. Will he be fast enough to squeeze Bullbeast out of the top 15? The answer is yes! Ocean Lion sets a 28.296. Dragon now goes onto the drop zone, and BG Bullbeast is on the outside looking in. Dragon already knows that this is the scenario, though. He has gone back onto the circuit with the McLaren. He is right there behind the Haas on the racetrack, but the Haas is far enough up. It shouldn't cause any negative aerodynamic weight or excessive spray that will blind the driver. Now they begin exiting Sector 2, and they come uphill through Sector 3. Very tight and technical section for the suspension of the car. You reach the zenith, the height of the circuit right here, as Dragon does. Now he jumps on the brakes and begins bringing the McLaren back downhill. It's a 1:29.527. It's the fastest time he has set thus far. Can he improve as he's coming to the final corner now in the McLaren? He steps a little bit wide, then cuts back in, and he'll cross the line with a 28.551, jumps up to 7th. With that in mind, Bullby's still on the outside. Jabez Dawn is now on the border of being squeezed out. He already knows, though, he is on an outlap ready to improve, as is your points leader, XRL Matrix, who used to be in that seat. This man here, though, BJ Bullby's, is in the middle of the lap right now, trying to get back in. Now it's beginning to look like if Bullby's and Beastin can improve, 28 may not be enough to verify a time. You might need to have something like a 28.6 to be able to verify your position. Ocean Lion in the Mercedes now goes to the top with a 27.357. Now we see Bulby's just set his fastest time in Sector 2. He is up by over 2 seconds. If Bulby's can keep that together, it would launch him solidly into the 28s. It would be about a 28.4. That would put him in the upper 10 spots roughly. He might just be able, and he's off! He's into the gravel, and he's off! I don't know what happened. It looked like the Williams machine slid out on him under braking just before going into the 4th to last corner. He invalidates that lap and has to go again now. Oh, and Ozda has had an incident. And he's not the only one. I think it's Ocean Lion as well. We've had 2 cars who have had a collision on racetrack, and James Gunn barely avoids the both of them. What happened? Well, we're going to try and get Ozda and Ocean Lion into the party real quickly to see what happened. What an absolute catastrophe, though, as we now know the drivers are likely not going to advance. Bulby's just needs to set a time about 1:29.445, and he will be in. He just needs to improve at this point. All right, coming into the party right now is XRL Ozda. Ozda, go ahead and clear your audio. Big accident. We didn't get to see what happened. What occurred that took you and Ocean Lion out there?
So basically, Ocean Lion was right behind me because he let me through because I came out like kind of right in front of him, so he was following quite close to me anyway when he shouldn't really, and then I spun, and then I spun. He couldn't really avoid me that much, and then he took my wheel off, and then I took his wheel off as well. So yeah, it's quite unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Alright, so looks like it will be a last place or near last place starting position for you in the race. However, the track itself is expected to be dry for the race itself. Do you think you can make your way up through the grid and pull off a good finish in the points?
Points is Spain. It's you know, it's quite a difficult track to get into the rigmarole, so we'll have to see about that.
Alright, well, thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. It's an absolute travesty to see that happen to you. Alright, so now things have gotten crazy. We are looking at some possible major championship implications. XRL Matrix is on track right now with a 1:28.865. He is not fast enough right now to get into Q2. He is not fast enough to beat XRL Oz's time. He needs to beat Oz's time in order to move up. And for Ocean Lion, who had the fastest time, was basically at the top, he's now looking like he's not going to advance simply because of the incident. We might only see 13 drivers advance because level 6 Beastian, he's only on an outlap now. When he hits the line, he's only going to have enough time for a single circuit. If Beastian can't maximize this and can't beat a 1:28.6, that's it for him. I don't think there's any way that we're going to see even 14 guys. We may only see 13 people in the second round of qualifying. It's a very interesting place on circuit that we see Ozda and Ocean Lion have their accident at. Although we have seen drivers go off there before, we don't normally see them go off there with the implication being the cars getting destroyed in the process. So very strange scenario to say the least, and it's really upended the entire qualifying. Alright, now we follow BCN on his lap. Matrix is on his lap as well. He's down on time at the end of Sector 2 despite the car being lighter. Your championship points leader might not be able to advance to the next round of qualifying, as we're looking at level 6 BCN right now. And we look at Matrix. Matrix has aborted his attempt. Matrix has given up. He knows he is not going to advance, and the major championship implications get tighter. Now for BCN, he is going to try to advance to the next round qualifying with his teammate Flavor, but he cannot afford to invalidate. He cannot afford to leave any of this on the table. There is another car that's just gone off there in Sector 1. Who is that? That is Bull Beast, and Bull Beast, thankfully he is in, but out of 5 different laps that Bull Beast has attempted, 3 of them have left him having some sort of incident in Sector 1, as we turn our focus once more to Level 6 Beastian. Clear track ahead of him. The 4 cars that are still on the circuit ahead of him will not inhibit him in any way, unless they were to spin and stall right in the middle of the race circuit. As we see Bull Beast go off again there now in Sector 2. Oh no, Beastian's around! And Beastian into the infield, and he very nearly hits the inside wall. The lap is still green, it's still good, but it's not gonna matter. He has lost so much time from that little off. He's gonna be the one starting dead last. Matrix isn't going to advance, and Ozzy and Ocean Lion with destroyed cars will not advance either. With all of that in mind, for this, we're only gonna see 13 people going into the final round of qualifying. How in the world did that happen? Well, with that in mind, qualifying session has come to an end, and of 17 drivers, normally we would see 15 advance to the next round of qualifying, but in the end, only 13 of them. One of them, your fastest, as the rain is now beginning to clear out a bit. And the 13 drivers that will advance will be XRL Torpedo in the AlphaTauri, Frisbee in the Haas, XRL in the other AlphaTauri, XRL Jigsaw in the Alpine, XRL Zola in the McLaren, BG Bullbeast in the Williams, XRL Flavor in the Red Bull with one of his best qualifying performances in Q1 ever. Ryan Hurricane will advance in the Haas, as will Jabez Khan in the Aston Martin, XRL Dragon in the McLaren, Mr. Worse in the Alfa Romeo, A. Waddington in the Williams, and Dave Ewart in the Mercedes. The drivers that did not advance, Ocean Lion, who had the fastest time of them all. He's not going to be able to start any higher than 14th, despite having one of the fastest laps in the session. XRL Ozzy will not advance, neither will XRL Matrix, your points leader, and neither will Level 6 Beastian in the Red Bull. So now we begin to get ready for the second round of qualifying. The track does not seem to be as heavily imbibed with rain as it was earlier, but it's still wet enough to where intermediate tires will be the way to go. 13 drivers go in, but only the top 10 fastest will go out into Q1 and the pole shootout. And if we end Q2 on dry enough circuit that dry tires end up being the fastest time, then we'll see some of these people start with dry rubber. In fact, the first driver to have put on dry rubber is BG Bullbeast. He's in the pits right now. But is Mr. Worsen, who is the first man out on circuit, and he'll be joined right afterwards by Frisbee. No one else on track right now. I'm going to be very interested to see what Bullbeast, and he's not the only one. A. Waddington is throwing, it says soft rubber. So these drivers all thinking that the circuit's going to dry out relatively quickly, and they want to be prepared. Now we're seeing coming down pit lane one of the McLaren drivers. So a slow realization of what's going on here as the circuit surface is beginning to change bit by bit. Bit by bit by bit by bloody bit. Now we see a Mercedes coming down. That would be Dave Ewart. Worse than invalidates, but again, it's just an outlap. It's not going to matter that much. Dragon, he's the third person out onto the circuit right now in the McLaren. None of the two drivers who have dry rubber equipped have come out onto the circuit yet, but we may see that change eventually. So turn our focus to Mr. Worsen. now, as we're looking at the circuit, more drivers coming onto the track gradually worsens in kind of a frustrating scenario because there is a AlphaTauri ahead of him on the circuit, Low. Now, Low's not close enough to him right now to cause problems. However, if Low feels the need to back out for any reason, then it will compromise Worson's lap. Davis Dawn has also gone ahead and thrown on soft tires. And there's the word, DRS has been enabled, so lap times are going to start falling very rapidly. So Worson's time is not really going to be all that fast. The first driver I think that's going to get a really good lap in is going to be this man here, XRL Flavor, because he's going to have the advantage of putting on DRS down the straights. Going down the main straightaway, he pops up in the DRS. Again, though, he still has the intermediate tires on. The amount of grip on the track that's still wet is a little bit up in the air, and there's not quite enough cars on the circuit yet to make a proper dry line. It seems like the entire circuit's going to dry at nearly the same pace. Frisbee sets a lap at 28.888, but I imagine Flavor alone will probably be able to set a 26.5 just because he has the help of the DRS down the straight. 24.4 flat at the end of Sector 1 now for the Red Bull machine. Now we see A. Waddington. He has come out onto the circuit. He's beginning an outlap, and he has soft tires on that car. So while everyone has started with, well, most everyone has started with intermediates, it's looking highly likely like we are going to see a rush onto dry rubber to the end of this. Dragon sets a time 29.495, and Dragon had the advantage of DRS down the back straightaway and still was not able to keep up with Frisbee on pace. So there may be a setup issue with the McLaren in these interim conditions. We might see it come back in their favor once it's full dry, though. Right now, right here, this is one of the most difficult kind of parts to, you know, prepare a car for, as Flavor now comes to the top of the circuit in Sector 3, and now it begins the downhill run through 4 90-degree corners into the final chicane. Spin. I think that's Torpedo, who has had a spin coming through Sector 1. Flavor only able to set 29.4. So despite having DRS advantage, Flavor is still slower than Frisbee's time. Coming to the line, that's Low. Low now begins his lap. We now turn our focus to Frisbee. He has come into the pits. So the focus now goes to Waddington, who is going to start a lap, and we turn our focus then to Dragon, who is low on fuel, but he is up by over 3/4 of a second. He still has intermediate tires on, but now he's got the DRS down both straightaways. He might, no guarantee, but he might be able to knock Frisbee off the top. But once we see if the track's dry enough, once we see Waddington cross the line, and no, Dragon's avoiding. So now the focus goes to Dave Ewart. Top of the circuit now, rushing downhill through the final chicane, and he aborts as well. So it seems like almost everyone is agreeing that the best plan of action at this point is to go with dry rubber. There is still a little bit of sprinkling going on in the circuit, but it does not seem to be enough to make people think that they should stay on wet weather tires. Waddington has the softs. He's already done his outlap. He's in the middle of a flyer now. The main racing line is still just as damp as the rest of the circuit, but that's the key word. It's damp. It's not soaked. Waddington is going to try and knock Frisbee off the top in the pit lane. Frisbee, they have thrown on mediums on that Haas. Low now goes up to second with a 29.286, but he set that on intermediate rubber. What can Waddington do on the softs? Out of the final corner. 26.628 seconds. So there it is. A lot of time being gained just in the transition from intermediates to softs alone. 2.2 second difference between Waddington and Frisbee. So for all intents and purposes, we are going to see a rush of drivers jumping onto soft and medium tires to the end of this, and it will be an interesting run to the end of this session. Probably my favorite kind of scenario. You start wet in Q2, but you end dry enough that you actually have to factor in strategy, and you're not going to have a whole lot of time to second guess and take multiple runs. Frisbee is still in pit lane. Low is still out on circuit trying to make the intermediates work. Now, if you start the race on intermediates in the top 10, you'll have the ability to go ahead and swap onto soft or medium tires for the start of the race itself. So for Low, if It's a big if. But if he can make this work out, it would be great for him. But again, the difference between soft, medium tires and intermediates are so massive, I don't really see that gamble paying off for anyone. If the rain stayed on for another 3-4 minutes, maybe someone like Frisbee or Lowe could have made it pay off. But as it is right now, I think everyone is going to be on dry rubber at some point in this session or another. Dave Ewart's in the middle of an outlap right now in the Mercedes. He has soft rubber on that car. BG Bullbeast has come on track, soft in his Williams. Zola, he has soft tires on his McLaren as he comes out of the final corner and will now begin his flying lap. Jigsaw still in pit lane. Jabez John and XRL Torpedo are both out on circuit on medium tires right now. So right now I have the bulletin set to best tires, not currently equipped, but best tires. So you'll see the intermediates slowly getting clocked out in favor of drivers that will have hard, or not hard, but slicks on their car. I'm still seeing a few drops of rain here and there from the camera, but it has definitely reduced by a significant amount. Oh, is that an Alpine? That's an Alpine, I think, that's had an incident. No, is that an Alpine? Who was that? That's a Williams. That was Bullbeast. Bullbeast has had an accident coming into pit lane. I thought he had an accident coming out of the chicane and ended up crashing coming in at pit lane. But for the Williams driver of BG Bullbeast, the entire front wing's been ripped off. And Bullbeast, who got into the next round of qualifying by the skin of his teeth, his problems continue even on a drying racetrack. At the top, though, Zola with a 123.134. Without a doubt, the track is completely dry on the main racing line, and it looks almost as dry on the offline as well. Dragon now goes to the top with a 22.997. Dave will come across the line with a 24.225. So McLaren 1-2 on the timing stands right now. Lowe is out on circuit. He set a time of a 29.2, but that was with intermediate rubber on a drying track. He now has softs on a pretty much bone dry track. He is going to try and get a lap started shortly here. Also on circuit, this is Jabez Dunn, 55.2 at the end of sector 2. That's not great. It's not the worst ever. Oh, and Dragon has had an incident, and that's the same area that Ozza crashed at. The entire front wing has been completely destroyed on that McLaren. Now, the difference, though, between Dragon and Ozza's instant is that whatever happened with Ozza, he was still right on the racetrack, and Ocean Line couldn't avoid him. Dragon, thankfully, went far enough off circuit that he's not going to compromise anyone else's lap. But this will be rough for him because it's going to be a long run back to the line. Torpedo, he overtakes Dragon now on the circuit. He is in the middle of a flying lap. On the medium rubber, runs extremely iffy there on that little uphill chicane. It's not even a real chicane. It feels like a chicane, though. And now comes to the straightaway at the end of Sector 2. Slams the DRS shut. 50.076 at the end of Sector 2. This could be a respectable lap by Torpedo. Top of the hill now. And now rushing down, Dave Ewart in the Mercedes jumps to the top, 22.969. It's looking very solid for him. Out of the final corner is he will set a lap time. This will be a fantastic time, 22.059. And on the medium tires, that's the fastest time we've seen thus far. And for drivers like Flavor, Lowe, and Frisbee, their time may just about be up unless they can get another lap in on hard rubber. That's what Frisbee's doing right now on the medium set of tires. He's coming to the final corner, but that's his teammate Ryan Hurricane in front of him. Thankfully, Hurricane's offline won't compromise Frisbee's line. Frisbee will cross the line to begin a lap. Sorry, I thought he was in the middle of the flyer. No, that was just a preparation lap. Now we see Jabez John. He has jumped up to 5th on medium rubber with a 23.121. That is Matrix's old seat that John is in. We see Bullbeast right now trying to get a lap in. It's been an absolute struggle for him to be able to get legal laps in thus far in the session. Frisbee, he set a time. He was the first driver to set a time on intermediate tires. His time on intermediates held up for a long period of 28.888. But now the gap between that and the actual fastest time at the moment is closer. And there's been an incident, and that's Ryan Hurricane, who has come almost to a stop there in Sector 2, and it's caused a bit of a track blockage. Davis John has to back out and abort the lap he was in the middle of, so that's not looking good for them. It's actually really going to cause some problems. Now Waddington to the top with a 28.831. The times are falling rapidly on the circuit right now. Here comes Frisbee to the line. He invalidates. Last corner, Frisbee invalidates. And the invalidation came late enough in the lap that will carry on into the next circuit. Frisbee may be at risk. No, Frisbee's not going to make it because there are 1 minute and 26 seconds left. He's going to have to absolutely hoof it around the circuit and will have to put together 2 perfect laps and hopefully not run out of fuel in order to advance. And even at that, it's going to be iffy. Meanwhile, on circuit as well as BG Bulbies, he's in the middle of the lap. Flavor is in the middle of the lap. Jigsaw is in the middle of the lap as he's sliding that Alpine down into Sector 2. Ryan Hurricane comes out of the final corner. In the Haas, he'll set a lap time 150. He had a spin or instant or something. That time is not going to be good enough. He needs to set a better, faster time. There is a mad dash of drivers trying to get laps in right now. If you make a mistake, that could be it for you. XRL Flavor right now is on the drop zone, 29.440, but he set down intermediate rubber. What can he do on soft tires? He's on an out lap right now. For him, he is just racing to try and get to the line. There is a Mercedes and an Alpine. No, it's a Mercedes and a... No, that's an Alpine. There's a Mercedes and Alpine ahead on the track of him. He needs to hope that he doesn't end up getting hurt by their aerodynamic wake. Jigsaw, 119.238. He goes to the top. Frisbee is on the bubble right now. He's invalidated this lap he's in the middle of now. He cannot afford to invalidate. He has 15 seconds to get to the line. Will he be able to do it in time? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Yes, he'll have just enough time to make it. For XRL Zola, though, he is going to come to the line with not enough time to get another lap in by the looks of it. No, he does. He barely gets that lap in, and he goes to the top in the McLaren. 119.197. Bullbeast retires, and he knows now that he is not going to be able to advance. Ryan Hurricane in the middle of the lap. His last lap was a mistake, but this one is great. 20.602. Frisbee and Flavor on the outside looking in. Davis John is on the bubble. Dragon also in a position that he might get squeezed out, and we're late enough in this section that Dragon may not have a chance to respawn. Flavor is up by 6 seconds. That kind of improvement alone might not be enough to get him over Dragon, but it might be enough to get him over Davis John, because he's only going to continue to find more and more time here in Sector 3. Frisbee is just a little bit behind him on the circuit. Frisbee is up by 5 seconds, over 5, nearly 6 seconds. Corners for Flavor. Flavor had a great run getting into Q2. Can he have a similarly great run going into Q3? To the line. Flavor, third fastest time, 19.5. Here comes Frisbee, as Dragon is now on the bubble. Will Frisbee squeeze XRL Dragon out? The answer? Yes! With a 119.282, and Dragon is out, and it's going to be Torpedo, Mr. Worsen, and Frisbee. They will be the drivers that will start this race on medium rubber. Everyone else in the top 10 will be started on softs. And for XRL Dragon, 22.997 was a respectable lap time, but it was not good enough. A travesty, to say the least, though, for BG Bullbeast, not able to get very many decent laps in at all. So there's your result. The top 10 drivers Zola, Jigsaw, Frisbee, Flavor, Ryan Hurricane, Washington, Lowe, Worsen, Davey, Warren, Torpedo, they all will advance to the next round. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Flavor has absolutely, remarkably turned his qualifying pace around. I remember when it was a struggle for him to make it out of Q3. Now he looks like he could be an outside contender for the pole position, or at least a front row start for this race alone. So things looking very up for him at the least. On the other hand, though, the driver that he's having a bit of a rivalry and a spat with, XRL Dragon, he is squeezed out and will not, for another race, will not be able to advance into Q3. Only one of the two McLarens make it into the final round of qualifying. Alright, anyways, sorry I had to take care of something real quickly there. First driver onto the circuit is going to be Frisbee once more. Frisbee really highly values the ability of having clean track to get a good lap in early on. Everyone except for Flavor and Dave Ewart out on circuit right now. Torpedo pulls over to let some of the other drivers through. He doesn't want anyone on his AlphaTauri's rear end when he goes for a lap. So we did this earlier, but it was in the rain. Now we're going to do it in the dry. We're going to go silent for a lap on board with XRL here around Catalunya. Very respectable lap there by XRL, 118.721. But at the top right now is XRL Jigsaw, 118.099. Look at that as XRL Flavor coming out of the pits at the exact same time pretty much. And Ryan Hurricane just behind him. He actually gets caught up behind them and has to invalidate this lap that he was about to go for a second lap. He now has to invalidate that altogether. But 7 of our 10 drivers have set laps, and here comes Washington. He's going to try and be the 8th. Spread from top to bottom is about 1.5 seconds at the moment. Where does Washington fall on that spread? The answer across the line, he is going to be near the bottom of that spread, 119.115. At the moment, Jigsaw, Frisbee, Zola and Torpedo with Lowe look to be the strongest contenders for the pole. I think it's going to be between Jigsaw and Frisbee for this. Ooh, Wellington runs wide and invalidates here on this lap, but he's low on fuel. I think he was probably going to come in anyway. Dave Ewart, he is behind a bundle of cars there. That's Lowe. He just pulls over altogether to let the Mercedes by. Dave trying to perform the best in the Mercedes. There is a chance he may not be able to retain the seat. He might get moved to the Ferrari in the next few weeks. There's no guarantee, though. DRS slams shut. And as Dave Ewart throws that Mercedes uphill now. Zola on track behind him, but I think Zola is on a cooldown lap right now. Or maybe not. No, I think Zola might actually still be hoofing it. Indeed, it would appear that Zola might actually still be hoofing it for another lap, potentially. This would be his third lap on this set of tires. So they could be a little bit past their peak. He's up, though, by about a fifth of a second. That kind of improvement would be enough to move him up to second fastest if he maintains it. Dave Ewart, 118.286, so he's only 6 thousandths off of Frisbee's time. Zola crosses the line. He lost almost all the time he had gained there in the final sector. And now fuel is going to be a concern for the McLaren driver. He might want to consider aborting and coming in with a better set of tires. I think he just used too much. Flavor will be the 10th and final driver to set a time here. As we've gone through a little bit more than half of this session at the moment. Downhill through 90-degree corners and into the final one. The DRS pops up in a little bit before a line. Across it, he will set time 1:19.011. That's good enough for 7th at the moment. Here comes Mr. Worsen across the line to begin another flying lap. But on circuit, farther up behind him is Dave. But Dave has invalidated this lap. Zola is on a cooldown lap because he is low on fuel and has to rush into the pit lane. That way he can get another lap in. He is already down by over a second and a half. So right now it's basically Flavor versus Worsen. Flavor down by about 27 thousandths at the end of Sector 1. Worsen's invalidated this lap. Wellington has also come out onto the circuit. So right now Flavor's the only one in position to potentially improve on a lap. Now we see Dave Ewart. He is on circuit once more. Yeah, Flavor's lost even more time, I think, combined with the fuel reduction. I think he's not really going to get a whole lot more out of this thing. As we now focus on Dave Ewart. Dave is up by 86 thousandths at the end of Sector 1. That kind of improvement would be enough to squeeze him over Frisbee, but no one seems to be able to touch Jigsaw's time quite yet. Onto the DRS straight in Sector 2. At the end of it, he has lost a ball. Dave really bad in Sector 2. He is now down by over half a second. And I would not be surprised if he started pulling back to try and recharge as much ERS as possible. Fans, he's down at only 9% ERS. This following lap is not going to be very good for him, and with only 3 minutes and 16 seconds left, he's not likely going to have a chance for another lap. I think Dave may have just ruined his only shot at potentially going for the pole position. Waddington, though, is in the middle of a lap right now in the Williams machine. But he's down on time at the exit Sector 1. XRL has also come back onto the circuit for another lap. Now we see both Haas drivers coming onto the track right now, and Zola has come back onto the circuit as well. But for right now, for Waddington, it's clean track everywhere around him. What can he make happen in the Williams? He's made up a little bit of the time that he's lost, but he's still down. He needs to pull out a lot more time here in this final sector. Is that an Alpine? Yes, that's Jigsaw. The Alpine of Jigsaw, who had the fastest lap thus far. He has had an instant in Sector 2 on his outlap. I don't see any damage to that car. Waddington improves up to 7th with 118.944. Ryan Hurricane in the middle of the lap, he's up by over half a second. That sort of improvement would leap him up into the 8th position, and that's assuming he doesn't find even more speed in the final sector. To the line for Ryan Hurricane. In the Haas, he will bring home a 118.802. That's good enough for 7th. Waddington is pulls over for a bit. Fuel is low. I think he's probably going to abort and won't go for another lap. Flavor on an out lap right now, but he needs to rush to the line because there's not a whole lot of time left on the circuit to get another lap in. Mr. Worsen coming through the final chicane. This will be his last attempt at a lap here. Can he find any improvement? But at the top, it's Jigsaw versus Frisbee. At the end of Sector 1, Frisbee is up by just about 1/10 of a second. That in itself would not be enough. He needs to replicate that sort of improvement in every single sector if he wants to beat Jigsaw. Jigsaw's down on time. This lap will not likely be an improvement for him. DRS is open. Waddington retires in the pits. He knows he can't go faster. Ryan Hurricane now comes across the line. He improves, but not enough to move him up the grid any. Now we see Zola. He'll jump up to second with a 118.138. Jigsaw has enough time for one more lap, but will the tires hold together for him? That's the question. Here comes Frisbee to the line. 117.770 for Frisbee. He now has broken the 118 barrier and might not let anyone else steal the pole from him. And Torpedo has crashed there in Sector 3. Car completely off circuit. Flavor up by a small amount of time, but it does not look like it will be enough to move him farther up the grid unless he continues to replicate improvements around the rest of the lap. Worsen is down by 18 seconds. This is not going to be any sort of improvement for him. Dave Ewar has the 4th best time thus far, but he hasn't validated this lap. The focus goes to Zola. Zola is low on fuel, but he's still hoofing it around the circuit. And Jigsaw hasn't validated his lap, so it's Frisbee. Maybe Zola might steal the top spot from him. Zola is definitely going to gun for a front row starting position. It would be the best qualifying run for McLaren thus far. He aborts. And with that in mind, it now goes to Flavor. Flavor will be the next driver to cross the line. Can he improve up above Waddington? At the line, it will be a 118.737, draining him into a direct tie with Ryan Hurricane. But because Hurricane set his time first, Hurricane will maintain 7th. Flavor will take 8th. Low on the middle of his lap, he'll be the last driver to get a lap in. And Low aborts. So looks like the pole setter is going to be this man here. Frisbee, El Frisbee in the Haas will be starting on pole position, and this could be the best chance for him to finally take home a victory in the Haas, one that might not be taken away from him later due to time penalties. So with that in mind, the qualifying session here at Catalunya comes to a close. And there's your result, the top 10 starters. Massive spread from the top to the bottom, almost 1.5 seconds. Now we stand by. It will be a few minutes until we get into the race itself, but I do want to go ahead and look over the standings real quickly when it comes to both manufacturers and drivers championship. This race will likely see a massive upending in everything, because when it comes to Ferrari, no Ferraris shown up to today's race, so they do have a pretty significant advantage. They have 288 points in the manufacturers championship right now, but no Ferraris running today. It means that they will leave here with that same number of points. Second is AlphaTauri with 230 points. Third is Aston Martin with 227. Fourth is Williams with 174. Fifth is McLaren with 132. Sixth is Romeo with 123. Seventh is Haas with 105. Red Bull is eighth with 105. Ninth is Alpine. They have 99 points. They just need one more to break into triple digits. 10th is Mercedes with 52. They do not have much time left to get that Mercedes up into triple-digit point range. When we look at the Drivers' Championship from the bottom to the top, XRL 19 is at the bottom with 13 points. Jacob is 19th with 20. XRL Yun has 26 points. XRL Jigsaw has 29 points. Frisbee is 16th with 38. Alzda is 15th with 43. 14th is Fizzy with 44. 13th is Level 6 Beastian with 49. Gabo is 12th with 54 points. XRL Flavor is 11th with 56 points. Mr. Worsen is 10th with 61. XRL Low has 76. In 9th, XRL Zola is 8th with 77. A. Wallington is 7th with 83. XRL Dragon has 89 points. 5th is Ryan Hurricane with 121. 4th is Jabus Lum with 130. 3rd is Smoothie, 25 with 132. But again, Smoothie needs to start attending races if he wants to fight for the championship. 2nd is XR Torpedo with 145. Leading is XR Matrix with 188 points. But again, a gap of 43 points between first and second. Matrix could DNF, and he'll walk out of here with this points lead, even if Torpedo takes home maximum points. The thing is, this is not just 1 or 2 races to the end of the season. We're still looking at 10 races the season's in. Matrix needs to replicate the success he's had in the Aston Martin now that he is in the Alfa Romeo. Otherwise, he will not take home double championships. Again, Matrix won the X2 championship, locked it up about 2 weeks ago, and that season ended last week. He is trying to be the first driver in XRL history to hold 2 different series championships at the same time. As we look real quickly at the race director and we see who's starting on what compound of tire, Beastian, Matrix, and Ozda, 17, 16, 15, they're all electing to start on medium tires. Ocean Lion 14th wants to start on softs. Jabus John and BG Bulbies from 12 and 13, they want to start on mediums. Dragon 11th, he's electing to start on softs. Mr. Worston in 10th will be starting on mediums, as will XR Torpedo in 5th. Your pole sitter, Frisbee, is going to be starting on mediums. Jigsaw is going to be starting on softs. Now, this could actually work very well for Jigsaw. And as we've talked about many times before in these races, there is a difference between having used softs, also known as scuffed, and then sticker softs. Scuffed softs or scuffed tires in general typically get up to heat really quickly. For Jigsaw, this could be the perfect chance for him to jump into the lead. Because the tires already have been scuffed, they'll pick up heat a lot faster than normal sticker tires. That means that he'll be able to get wrapped to pace very quickly. We may see him even out-drag the Haas to the line. If so, this could be fantastic for the Alpine team. Now, with that said, though, I do think the Haas of Frisbee has an advantage in the long term, because he'll be starting the race on the medium tires and can just go from soft tire to soft tire for the rest of the event. He'll get his worst segment of the race out early on, and on a circuit that's very hard to overtake on, and a circuit that doesn't disadvantage the Haas as much as most of the others, this could be a great chance for El Frisbee, especially if we get any long green runs, to just put together a lot of good laps and make a lot of time up as the race goes on. I really do think that right now, for Frisbee, this will be his best chance to bring home a victory for that team. As we're preparing to get underway here in a few moments. Standing by right now as we're preparing to get underway for the race itself. Just waiting for us to load onto the circuit right now. We should be going shortly here. Let's go! Hopefully no one stacks it in the first few corners and turns their car into a convertible. As we load onto the circuit now. 17 cars here at Catalunya. As we see the lights. 4 lights. 5 lights. And it's lights out, away we go here at Catalunya. The drag race down the line easily favors Jigsaw. Frisbee doesn't care, he just wants to hold off Zola, Frisbee, neck and neck. It looks like the McLaren will have the advantage. Frisbee sends it under braking, but has to give up the position in turn 2. Now he has to fall in line, but he'll be fine because Lowe and Davey were in a span of their own for 4th and 5th position. Everyone seems to have gotten through the first few corners without too much of an issue. Waddington has fallen out into 6th position. And we see a lot of spread already beginning to form in the back of the grid. Low! Pushes Davey Moore just a bit off circuit, and now Dave is going to lose a spot to Waddington as well in the Williams. So the Mercedes falls to 6. Not a great start for him. He has Torpedo behind. Torpedo has medium tires though, so it's not going to be super easy. Ooh, big twitch for Dave coming onto the back straightaway. Will there be any chance? He's actually going to brake late. Try to sit it on Waddington. He'll overtake him. Now the crossover move goes in the favor of the Williams driver. And in the end, they just end up compromising their own lines and let Lowe in 4th position walk off a little bit more. Ozda gets by Bullbeast, Matrix gets by Jabez. John has front wing damage. It's not looking good for him. One of your potential championship contenders in the seat of the man who had been leading the championship most of the season. Worsen comes into the pit lane now. He has to repair damage to his car as well. He's not the only one. That's XRL Dragon, who's also come in to repair damage as well. A lot of scenarios here. No, Worsen's not in pit lanes yet. And Bullbeast has had an accident and has been disqualified for apparently blocking the pit lane entrance. And we are under a virtual safety car now. What in the world happened to Bullbeast that looked like a lot of bull crap? But now under VSC, and for drivers who are going to be iffy on fuel, who underfueled their car intentionally, this could work well for them. As we look down the grid at the drivers who are in that position, one of them is Frisbee in 3rd. This will help him a bit. Another one, as we look farther down, is Torpedo back there in 7th. Other drivers is Flavor in 9th. We also have even farther back, that is Ozda in 14th and XRL Dragon in 16th. They're all underfueled. This yellow flag, this virtual safety car at least, will help them with that a bit. But at the front, it is Alpine, McLaren, Haas, 1, 2, 3. Frisbee has the long-term advantage on tire choice, but Jigsaw will have clean air when they go back to the green flag. Also, when they go back to the green flag, this could get very interesting. because Jigsaw may have a great run for a while, but the field is not as spread out as you'd think it would be from about 10th on back. Matrix is hanging out there in the 10th position. DRS has been enabled, and Matrix is coming into pit lane. There is something wrong with the Alfa Romeo that necessitated him coming into the pits. That will help out the drivers of Beastian and Ocean Lion. They'll be able to overtake him, as will Mr. Worsen. As we see Beastian and Ocean Lion in a drag race down the main straightaway. Under braking, the Mercedes will utilize The Mercedes will utilize superior straight line speed and the soft tires to overtake Flavor and will get back into the points paying positions. Mazda in the other Alpine will now overtake Matrix. In fact, our points leader will now fall to last place on the racetrack now. At the front though, Zola stalks Jigsaw. DRS has been enabled, and the gap in the top three is not too long. This could get very interesting because if Zola times his cards right, we may finally see a McLaren fighting for a lead once more. Farther back, Dave looked for a lunge on Waddington, but backed out of it. The problem is he backed out at kind of inopportune time, and now Torpedo is hanging out there in 7th. Torpedo has medium tires, so he's not in a position to go hard right now, but he knows that the longer he just stays there, as long as he's not letting his lap times get horribly compromised, the better and better it's going to go. And Azda in the other Alpine has had a spin there in Sector 2. No damage to that car as far as we can tell. Zola, Jigsaw's just set the fastest time. Frisbee's just hanging out using DRS to keep in touch right now. Zola already has a time penalty though, first driver to do so in today's race, as he tries to run down Jigsaw. Look at this battle here. Dave Ewart still running behind Waddington and has an entire field behind. Dave's right there behind, does not make a dive into turn 4. As a run down to turn 5, look, the AlphaTauri Torpedo taking up all the track farther back. He is running extremely aggressive lines. Straight line as many of the corners as he can to maximize the straight line speed, but it's letting Brian Hurricane and the Haas close in a little bit unnecessarily close in some of the corner apexes. Oh, and Dave's around and into the inside wall and in the middle of the racing line, and the car is destroyed. And that is your first full course safety car for the likes of James John, Matrix, and Mazda. This came at a perfect time. And Dave Ewart, the first driver out of the event. And in the lead, Jigsaw has actually pitted out of the top spot right away. He's not the only one. Waddington pits, as will Ryan Hurricane, as will XRL Flavor. So a lot of drivers jumping onto varying strategies. The field's now going to get really shaken up and broken up. Jigsaw throws on medium rubber, so he'll be running that pretty much to the end of this race. Ocean Lion will really capitalize on this. While one Mercedes is out, the other Mercedes is now actually going to be even higher on the position on the grid now. And this is going to be a long safety car as well. And for the AlphaTauri drivers, XRLO and XRL Torpedo, both of these at one point were in the Ferrari camp. Now their teammates here in the AlphaTauri camp, they are running 3rd and 4th right now. Worsen and Matrix pitting as well. In the Alfa Romeo pit, they are going to go ahead, take off the medium tires and throw on hard, so he's anticipating to not pit again for a long section of this race's remainder. But he is about half a lap down, have to rush to catch up. We're not likely to go green until about lap 7, although the good news is Jigsaw has just caught the back of the grid. He is going to be restarting 6 on fresh medium tires. So he made the softs work well to his advantage, and when he pitted, although the field hadn't spread out as much as he wanted, he does now have the tire advantage over the drivers ahead. At the front, Zola has soft tires and they're not dead yet. He'll still be able to utilize them for a bit. But there's Frisbee right behind, and Frisbee has mediums and it will work out well for him. So what? Oh. And Mr. Worsen apparently has had an incident and has spun under the safety car trying to catch up to the back of the grid, so this will drop him to 14. And Lowe is pitting. He's once off of the soft tires, and he waited a while to pit. This is going to drop him all the way out of the points-paying positions. He'll throw on medium rubber, though, but he's going to come out in about the 13th, maybe even 14th position. This is not looking good from this promotes game. It's gone back up into the points. Dragon is now going to be 11th. Ozza's going to be 12th. So now for Jigsaw, he goes up into the 5th position, and 2 of the 3 drivers ahead have worn soft tires. So this is looking like it could fall in Jigsaw's hands. Frisbee also in a good position because now there's only 1 car ahead. Now the Haas and the McLaren are diametrically opposite in every single way. The Haas is the weakest car in a straightaway. The McLaren is the fastest in a straightaway, only really matched by XRL Torpedo and the Alpha Ataris. With that said, though, the McLaren is also really confident in the corners. The Haas is iffy, but Frisbee has made some impressive drives. I think Frisbee, if he can utilize DRS and ERS, he can stay in touch with Zola and might, no guarantee, but he might be able to steal the lead in the next several laps of this event if he times it right. It's going to be difficult, but I think he can make it happen. Matrix, though, back there in 15th, has not closed into the back of the field at all. He's still 30 seconds out from the rear of the grid and is not closing with any measure of pace. And something has happened to Beastian, and Beastian has gone off circuit in the Red Bull. I don't see damage to the car, but he is dropping to the back of the grid. And now Mr. Worsen goes off circuit as well. What is going on at the back of the grid? That's not the only one. That's Ozda. And Ozda has just been given a penalty for ignoring the yellow flag. Beastian is still off circuit. What in the world has happened? This lets Matrix catch up. Matrix now caught the back of the grid, but now everyone from about 11th on back has lost the lead group. The green flag is waved off for another lap. Ozda now has a time penalty he'll have to serve. Lowe is there in 12th. Worse has actually gotten a position back. Matrix is up to 14th, and Beastian is now in 15th. Bizarre situations here at Catalunya, and we'll be going green on lap 8. And under this extended safety car coupled with the VSC earlier, Frisbee is still under fueled, but as I'm looking down for the rest of the grid, Dragon in 10th is still under fueled. But other than those 2, that's it. Everyone else is now good on fuel to the end of this event. There's a word safety car officially coming in this lap as all 15 drivers remaining on the circuit have grouped up. Zola controlling the field. How will he back the grid up? He will want to obviously keep Frisbee behind as much as he can so he can open up the biggest straightaway gap on the Haas down the straight. For Frisbee, he needs to worry about Torpedo more than anything else. If Torpedo gets by, Frisbee's shot at leading this race and winning gets a lot harder because Torpedo is also diametrically opposed in car build to Frisbee. And the other point is that Torpedo is on the same tire strat as Frisbee also. Alright, and Zola immediately shoots out of the foul car like a cannon already. Over a second gap on Frisbee. What can Torpedo do to Frisbee? If Torpedo can get by Frisbee, he can, without a doubt, put himself in position to fight for the win of this race. Down the straight. How deep does the Haas brake? Very deep. He gets back in front. And Torpedo has to give it to him. And Frisbee maintains second. But the gap between first and second position is already almost 2 seconds worth of a gap. Now Ocean line back there in fourth still has the soft tires. The soft have not blown off too much. Ocean is in a stronger car than the AlphaTauri. He might be able to sneak his way through. The 2 of them take very bizarre lines coming out of 4. Now Jigsaw is there in 5th. Jigsaw has the freshest tires of everyone in the top 5. They're mediums right now, and he has to deal with a lot of aerodynamic weight. DRS has not been kicked on yet. Already, Frisbee's trying to chip away at the time gap that Zola's opened up on him. But Zola perfected that restart, opened up nearly 2 seconds worth on the rest of the field. This could go great for him. Farther back, Mr. Worsen is already putting pressure on XRL low, but under braking, he has to give up and lose it all. Top 5 pretty much seem to be in a zip code of their own right now. Jigsaw planning long term. Torpedo seems to struggle a little bit, maximizing corner exit. He's 7/10 behind Frisbee at the moment, going down the straight. Closes it down to 6/10, closes it down to about half a second, a little less than half a second under braking. Frisbee is not closing on Zola with the speed that he wants, but he is chipping the gap away. The problem, though, is that when DRS kicks in on the following lap, unless Zola makes a mistake, Frisbee won't have DRS, Torpedo will, and Frisbee will get lost in the sauce being the middle of the field, and it will become a Zola versus Torpedo fight to the end of this race. Frisbee needs to close down on Zola, or needs Zola to make a mistake and do it fast. Ozda overtakes Dragon for a 10th place. Dragon's trying to fight back on the inside of turn 6, can't do anything to the Alpine. Now it's Lowe's turn to try and do something. He runs right into the rear tire of the McLaren. But it looks like they'll keep control for the moment. Worsen is right there behind Lowe. Worsen actually has a run on the AlphaTauri, but will he make the dive under braking? No. But Lowe made the dive on Dragon. I did not see that coming. Dragon now hemorrhaging positions. Is there damage to that car? Because he's lost 2 positions in a single corner now. Dragon also has to be worrying about fuel saving, so he may be worried about that as well. Near the front, Frisbee has opened up just about a second gap on Torpedo. So Frisbee trying to get out of DRS range from the AlphaTauri. Dragon is holding Matrix up. Matrix not going to be happy with this at all. He is trapped behind the McLaren. Jigsaw gets by Ocean Lion because Ocean Lion has had a spin out of 2. And Ocean Lion, who was in the top 5 positions, I think he may have pushed the tires a bit too far, and he will fall to 14th spot, maybe even 15th as level 6. Beastian runs into the side of him! Not a very smart move by Ocean Lion, and Beastian will not be happy with the way that turned out whatsoever. But Torpedo has lost touch with Frisbee, and Jigsaw is now the driver who is in position to tackle Torpedo. The tire life difference between them is 5 laps. Now that's not a lot around here, but Jigsaw does have slightly fresher rubber, and he'll have DRS on Torpedo. Torpedo needs to close in on Frisbee. He gets back to about 9/10 out from the Haas. He needs to be within a second of the Haas in order to have DRS as a defense against Jigsaw down the straight. Ryan Hurricane gets by Washington for 5th position. Flavor is looking on and at that fight. These two are not close enough to fight on the drivers ahead. Torpedo now gets a time penalty, but he will close in a bit of a gap on Frisbee. So Torpedo has DRS. He now barrels down the straightaway with immense speed to close down on Frisbee. If he can get by the Haas here, he'll be able to utilize the Haas as a pick, as a defense. He can't get it by. In fact, Frisbee blocked the braking line. Outstanding defensive job by him. That brings Jigsaw back to the fray. The counterpoint, though, is that now Frisbee has to fight against Torpedo once more, and Jigsaw is there as well. DRS is not in the Haas's favor here. Ryan Hurricane trying to get back by Washington. Now Flavor there in 7th is fighting in earnest for this spot as well. Side by side between Haas and Williams. Change there. Frisbee has closed down to about 1.1 seconds out from Zola. The soft tires on the McLaren starting to fall off a bit. The Haas looks for a dive, doesn't go for it, but Flavor around the outside will take a dive on the Haas. Can't make it stick. Now James, John, and Ozda have come up to this fight. At the front, Frisbee is within DRS range of the McLaren. If he can maintain that, he can use DRS as a defense against the AlphaTauri. But the AlphaTauri will still be faster in a straight line. As they come onto the straightaway once more, Torpedo is actually outside of DRS range of the Alpine. We see the Haas trying to utilize DRS as a defense. Torpedo is closing down. He's within a third, within a quarter of a second, but can't get alongside the Haas. And for Frisbee, this is working out in his favor now. As long as he can keep opening up the gap on the AlphaTauri in the corners, he'll be able to close down on the McLaren in the circuit as the tires continue to fall off of your race leader. Zola had an outstanding race restart. However, the tires are working against him, and those 2 seconds he had built up are now all but gone. Farther back, Ozda, Davis, John having a little bit of a scrap of their own. It's a DRS train from Waddington back to Ozda, from 5th back to 9th. Anything could happen here if someone goes wrong, and Ozda's off, and we were right up towards Ozda. He puts the power down, and he is off. And out of the event is the Alpine. That is a full course safety car. And Ozda rage quits. He leaves the party, will not talk with us, obviously. Frustration. And that will be the end of it. And for Level 6 Beastie and Ocean Lion and XRL Dragon, this will be great. They will be able to get into pit lane, put on new rubber. Zola pits out of the race lead. With that in mind, Frisbee will inherit the lead of this race. Now we see the drivers at the back of the grid also. They have made their stops. Beeston's still on the same set of tires he started this race on. He's not really been able to do anything with the Matrix now on soft rubber. And Ocean Lion repairs damage, puts on medium rubber now. He'll be running that to the end of this race. Dragon in 11th has not elected to pit, interestingly enough. Now he might choose to do that here now, this lap. Because Zola did pit, and he obviously didn't want to end up being held up by Zola. Then again, Dragon's already so close to the back of the grid, it kinda wouldn't matter anyway. He is still trying to catch fuel numbers. In fact, I think at this point, Dragon is now the only driver with Ozda crashing out, and Frisbee now leading at this moment as well. I think Dragon is now the only driver still trying to hit a fuel number, so Dragon has not seriously begun to fight for position. I'll be very interested to see what Dragon can do once he hits his fuel number, and will he pit under this safety car to get onto a different set of rubber? No, he'll stay out, so he still thinks there's use on the soft tire, so look for him to maybe have an incident when we go green and start trying to push these tires beyond what they're supposed to go. But at the front, Frisbee now has the lead, but now his race has taken a different perspective. He will not have DRS, period, and he has all of the restart and 2 laps to try and open up the biggest gap possible he can on Torpedo. Because once Torpedo catches him, the superior straight line speed of the AlphaTauri, second best of all the cars here, will absolutely demolish the Haas down the main straight. We saw even when the Haas had DRS as a defense, the AlphaTauri was just able to bear right down on him. Now there will be no DRS defense that Frisbee can utilize. He will have to struggle to try and keep that AlphaTauri behind. One thing that will help though, Frisbee does not have time penalties right now. XRL Torpedo does. For those of you not aware, that car that Frisbee is in, that used to be Nikita Mazepin's ride. Mazepin was a paid driver, although I will say he had somewhat earned his seat in F1. He came home, I believe it was 4th or 5th in the F2 Championship at the end of 2022. One of 2 drivers in that Haas seat, but he brought with him backing from Russian energy company Uralkali. However, due to the geopolitical situation, financial situation, Uralkali no longer able to fund the team, and with that in mind, Nikita Mazepin has also lost his ride. Frisbee giving Nikita Mazepin a good send-off, and while he was not a popular driver on or off circuit, it's not a situation you ever want to see someone lose their ride in. This will probably be the best send-off that this series can give Nikita Mazepin, and we wish him farewell in whatever his endeavors are beyond Formula 1 as we come to the green flag. Frisbee was not able to open up any sort of gap on Torpedo. Torpedo is right on the Haas's rear end. He's within a 10th of a second. He goes to the outside, drag race down the straightaway, and the superior straight line steer the AlphaTauri lets him cruise into the top spot immediately. Oh, but he steps out wide in turn 2. The Haas has a chance to fight back. The Haas gets right underneath. Aerodynamic weight. The Torpedo ends up stepping a little bit wide, and the Haas takes the position back. Drag race now into turn 4. And the Haas of Frisbee takes the position. Torpedo wants to fight back, though. Can't make it stick. And Frisbee gave up the lead going into turn 1, but bet on the struggles of the AlphaTauri, taking an alternate lane and ended up taking the position back. Outstanding. That was some of the best driving I think I've ever seen. And this at Catalunya, a circuit you almost never see driver overtakes at. Almost all the overtakes here are just based off of strategy or someone ahead making a mistake. And there's almost never any sort of serious long-term planning. That there was driver of the day material there. Outstanding job by Frisbee. I could not believe when I saw that as an absolute masterclass. No DRS, no mistake from the other guy except for what was set up and planned on a circuit that we don't really see much proper overtaking at. I am blown away. Outstanding job, Frisbee. Just nothing but an outstanding job. Wow. All right, Zola has gotten by Mr. Worsen. Zola utilizing the fresh medium rubber, and he'll have a great tire advantage over the drivers ahead of him on the circuit. He is now going to put his focus on XRL Low. Low matches the McLaren pound by pound, if not maybe a bit better down the straightaways. However, Zola's McLaren will be better on corner exits, so it might be able to turn out in his favor. Zola taking some alternate lines to try and keep some fresh air on the front wheel of that car to make those tires last as long as possible. He wants this race to come to him in his favor. A little bit behind, this is XRL. Matrix is running in the 11th position right now. Matrix out of the points. His biggest points rival, XRL Torpedo, is running in 2nd at the moment. But we still have 50 laps to go. Things could still change between now and the end of the race. Ocean Lion working on Dragon. Dragon's still trying to chase the fuel number, and he's still on very old rubber as well. Also want to go ahead and give a shout out to XRL Flavor. No question about it, he has thrown away a lot of the pace issues he has had most of the season. He is running 6th, he's qualified top 10, he's run 6th, and is doing very solidly right now. At the front. So now the battle for the lead changes focus because now DRS has been enabled. Frisbee has not been able to open up more than, and just as I was saying good things about Flavor, he goes around and crashes out of Sector 2. Just as I was complimenting him and saying that he was having a good run. God forsake it. Worsen steps out of the way to let his teammate Matrix through, so Matrix is now back into the points paying positions. But at the front, the battle for a lead has now changed focus. Frisbee will not have DRS as a defense. Torpedo can utilize DRS and the superior straight line speed of the AlphaTauri to bear down on him in the straightaways. Now here on the back stretch, it's not going to be enough for Torpedo to get alongside, but he gets within about 1/3 of a second, and he should be able to breeze by the Haas down the straight. The counterpoint, though, is that the Haas will be able to utilize DRS to keep pace, potentially. Jigsaw, though, is there in 3rd. He has slightly better tires than both of these two, and he'll have DRS on both of them, Jigsaw could really throw a massive monkey wrench into Frisbee and Torpedo's race. Torpedo needs to get by the Haas as fast as possible, and you hope that the Haas ends up being a pick that keeps the Alpine behind. Down the straight, you can see how quickly the gap closes. The AlphaTauri looks but can't commit. And Beastian has had an accident. Both Red Bulls in an accident on the same lap on opposite ends of the racetrack, and this is going to be problematic. No damage for Beastian, though, it looks like. So there won't be a stack up in the Red Bull camp, but Flavor, who was having a great run, great pace, is likely he will go a lap down. But at the front, Frisbee holds on to the lead for the moment. Every straightaway, though, works against the Haas in the lead. And as this all goes on, it works in Jigsaw's favor because he has DRS and can stay in touch. And Zola, who was leading earlier, he has gotten up to 8th position right now. Matrix is trying to fight with him, though. Matrix is on better tires and utilizing and abusing the crap out of them, but can't get ahead of the McLaren. Not yet, at least. The McLaren's a bit offline. Look at this. It's going to be a massive DRS train from 4th all the way back to 10th, pretty much. For Waddington, this could be very problematic. Frisbee now sets the best lap, and he is actually out of DRS range of Torpedo. Ryan Hurricane has DRS on Waddington, flying down the straight. He looks to the inside. The Williams doesn't give him a lot of room. The Haas now goes to the outside. Can't make it stick. But he'll try the crossover. Exiting turn 2, and now they sail through turn 3. Neck and neck. Haas team very competent with their cars, even if their cars are pretty much crap boxes. Waddington holding the position, but Ryan Hurricane hounding him without DRS usage. It's incredible what he's making happen. Oh, and Mr. Worson has had a spin back there, and he'll drop out of this fight in the process. Zola gets by low using DRS, runs the AlphaTauri just a bit off circuit. Matrix will take advantage of that. He wants to get around the outside. Now he gets run off circuit. And very nearly runs into the back of the AlphaTauri. So he has the best tires of everyone on track, but he can't make any use of them. Farther up, Jigsaw has DRS on Torpedo, and DRS will let him overcome the AlphaTauri's straight line superiority. Jigsaw goes up into 2nd. He's fighting for a lead back. Ryan Hurricane can't get by Waddington yet, and has brought James John up into the fray. Side by side, Haas versus Williams. One advantage that Ryan Hurricane has, although he's offline, he has gotten clear air on the front wing of that Haas throughout most of Sector 1, so that's going to help artificially extend the life of his tires by just a small amount over the drivers behind him, like Davis John, who is on tires he's been on since he was involved in incidents on lap 1. John right there behind Ryan Hurricane. He has DRS. Will he make the dive? He will not make the dive. In fact, no one in that large DRS train makes the dive. Oh, but Matrix runs in the back of Lowe. Lowe had to get off, did not run into Zola. Matrix clobbered him in the rear. Is there damage to the Alfa Romeo? I do not see damage to the Alfa Romeo machine. But on the soft rubber, he's faster than people ahead, but it doesn't matter. He can't do anything to pass them, it seems. Because everyone ahead has DRS, and it's a very competent pair of Haas and McLaren drivers farther up. Dragon now pits. He'll get off the soft rubber. He's been up since the start of the race. And he will be at threat of going a lap down. He might be at threat of losing position to Beastian and Flavor, who he had been fighting with for a good chunk of this race. Zola, now he is the one putting pressure on James John. Zola has tires that are 11 laps fresher than John alone. and the McLaren is superior than the cars ahead in every way feasible. This could be a great run for Zola. Ryan Hurricane steps out a little wide there. I think his tires are starting to fade on him. Not unbearably so. He'll still be better than John, but it's not looking good. Here comes Zola. He's got a run. He's got a dive bomb. Sends it, and he hits the Haas. And that's it for Zola and Ryan Hurricane. They both go way out circuit. Zola hands over all the positions. They'll fall to 9th and 10th. And for Zola, humiliation and frustration from one of XRL's finest. He got too aggressive, locked up the brakes, and went out circuit with the Haas. And for Waddington, it did not go as well as hoped because James John is still back there. And unlike the Haas, James John will be faster in a straight line. This also works out well for Matrix because now 2 of the drivers ahead are out of contention and he gets a chance to hound low now. So this works out well for your points leader. Ryan Hurricane has to come into the pit to repair the damage, and that will drop him behind both Beastian and Dragon on the circuit. Meanwhile, near the front, Jigsaw, who has gotten by Torpedo, is trying to bear down on Frisbee. If he can get he has fresher tires, not by a massive amount, but they're a few laps fresher. So Jigsaw has basically made up all the time that he lost from pitting earlier. And right now he's within DRS range of the Haas. So we may see the change for lead happen very shortly here. Just barely. I think he was just barely out of DRS range, putting the power down. Yeah, so he was not within DRS range of the Haas. He's closing down the straightaway because he still has superior street line speed regardless. Jigsaw gets within without DRS. He closed up and up 2/3 of a second. I think it's without a doubt. Oh, twitch by the Haas ahead. The tires are starting to fade on Frisbee's car. A third of the way through this race, and Frisbee's tires are fading, and Jigsaw behind has slightly fresher rubber and is in a position to overtake easily on the following lap. Farther back, Matrix and Waddington continuing the little spat for 6th. But despite having fresh, soft tires, the nature of the circuit is not letting him really utilize them to their full advantage. Lowe continues to hound James John for 4th. John has worse tires, Lowe has better straight line speed and DRS, so I think this will work out in Lowe's favor as this battle goes on. At the front though, Frisbee has opened the gap up on Jigsaw a bit more, but without a doubt, Jigsaw will have DRS on the Haas. We could see both him and Torpedo freight train Frisbee down the line. For the lead, DRS kicks in for the Alpine. It's a 7/10 second gap, and already it's down to 6/10, half a second. It's down to 4/10, a third, a quarter, a 10th, side by side for a lead, and it will be a defensive run by the Haas that'll keep Jigsaw behind for a few more corners. But now the entire top 3 battle, and BC's had an incident there in Sector 3, and that will let Dragon move up into 11th now. So Frisbee, a very strong defensive drive will keep Jigsaw behind a little bit more. And it's brought Torpedo up into the fray as well, so Jigsaw needs to be careful and measured because although Jigsaw does have fresher tires, they're not excessively fresher. Torpedo, who does have the worst tires of everyone here, could still make and mount the charge against Jigsaw. Farther back, Matrix, I think his tires are starting to fade. He is closing on Waddington, but not as much as he wants to. The battle is still being decided primarily by what the drivers in 4th and 5th are doing. John has the track advantage, but Lowe will have DRS, fresher rubber, and better straight line speed. I think it's only, like I said before, I think it's only a matter of time until Lowe overtakes John. For the lead once more, Jigsaw's closing with speed. within a third of a second. He dives to the inside. The Haas will not try to fight back too aggressively. They're still side by side into one, and the Haas has better control of his car through 1 and 2. The Alpine, which is known for being very slippy, can't keep it together, and another lap goes in Frisbee's favor. Outstanding driving. This is driving that you would see of a champion. This is why Frisbee is one of, if not the best driver in X1 here. Wellington closes down on low now as Jabez John has lost a chunk of positions. He has fallen to 6th, might even lose that to Matrix. Matrix sends it, contact, the Alfa Romeo, the car that Matrix used to drive, gets pushed a little wide, but Matrix is now caught looking at the rear wing of the machine that he used to own. At the front, John now has a time penalty, and that's not going to help him very much, to say the least. Lowe now has 4th. Wellington in 5th will have DRS, but won't be able to easily maximize it. Again, the straightaway here is not nearly as long compared to a lot of the other straights on the Formula 1 calendar. But as we look at the battle for lead once more, Frisbee leads. How does he defend against Jigsaw? Down into turn 1. Jigsaw goes to the outside. This time there is no fight back. Frisbee can't even attempt to go into turn 1 side by side. Jigsaw has the lead. Now things change though, because Frisbee is faster than Jigsaw throughout the midsection of the circuit. Frisbee might be able to utilize DRS, stick with Jigsaw for long enough to keep him ahead of Torpedo. As this fight has gone on, Torpedo has actually not been able to keep up. Torpedo, dealing with the aerodynamic wake of both of the cars ahead, is actually chewing through his tires a lot faster than Frisbee was. Because of that, he has actually fallen beyond a second from these top 2 drivers. So right now, Frisbee, I don't think he's going to be charging for the lead position, but he will be utilizing DRS to try and maximize and drag out the length of this set of tires as long as he can. Matrix by Jabez John now. John not in a position to fight back, so Matrix now up into 6th. But those soft tires that he's been on, he's now burned through the best of them. Especially considering he's been in aerodynamic wake of cars ahead most of this time. Jigsaw now sets the fastest lap of the race. But Frisbee actually is closing by a small amount down the straight with DRS help. Now he's not going to make a move here. Oh, but the Alpine is really not happy through turns 1 and 2, and he's coming for a fight back! Side by side for a lead. I did think Frisbee was in a position to go for it, but he went for it. He's pressuring the Alpine's stepping wide! The Haas driver knows the weaknesses of the Alpine. He's taking full advantage of it. He's trying to force the Alpine to run offline and slide out, burn up the tires as much as he can. This is incredible! Uphill once more. The Alpine's superior in almost every way except for one. It is a very slidey car. The tires, even under ideal circumstances, struggle to maximize grip. Frisbee knows. Frisbee is utilizing DRS to really punish the Alpine throughout the entirety of Sector 1 and the start of Sector 2. And the Haas is off, despite having to deal with aerodynamic wake, despite having to deal with older tires, the Haas and its driver are both competent and good enough that he's able to keep up the fight and continue to pressure the Alpine and stay within DRS range throughout Sector 2 and Sector 3. The Haas will be able to utilize DRS to close in on the Alpine a little bit more, and that's Mr. Worson, who has had another instant, this one coming onto the back straightaway. Now Dragon moves up into 10th spot as Worson, with 21 lap forward medium tires, has burned the best of them off. Frisbee not really able to do anything to Jigsaw there. As we look at Worson, don't see any damage to that car, but the tires have definitely seen better days. At the front, Jigsaw leads over Frisbee. Both of them have opened up a gap on Torpedo. Beastian, now he has had an instant there in Sector 3, 26 lap 1 medium tires. He's been on nearly since the start of the race. So I think the medium tires are starting to fall off, and a lot of these drivers will have to elect to start pitting in the next lap or two. Beastian will stay out for another... No, Beastian's coming in now. And that will likely trap him a lap down. Flavor will overtake him on the circuit. at the front. And farther back as well. Look at this. Matrix is right there behind Waddington. Waddington didn't have DRS. Matrix goes for it, and Matrix takes the spot. Matrix up into 5th now. So your championship points leader, despite not being happy with the car, not making it out, Q3 is now charged up to 5th. It's looking very good for him. Torpedo has pitting at 3rd. James John also pitting. He'll pit out of the 8th position as well at the front. Frisbee continues to put pressure on Jigsaw, but Jigsaw knows what's coming. He's a lot more cleverly defensive against it. Oh, Jigsaw just barely into the grass there. Is that a Haas? Yes! Ryan Hurricane. Now it's the other Haas's turn to have an incident. And Beastian's actually somehow still on the lead lap. Just barely, but he is. And he's on soft tires, so if he can nail these laps properly, he'll be able to stay on the lead lap until the top 3 all elect to pit. Frisbee barreling down, and Dragon's out! And it's an instant in Sector 1, and that's a full course safety car, and that's perfect for the Red Bull team. What happened to Dragon that took him out of it? Oh, Christ, that's... Looks like he lost it coming out of 2. And with that safety car, Jigsaw's pitting, as is Frisbee. And Beastian, I think, just got put a lap down while pitting. All right, coming to the party now is XRL Dragon. Dragon, big accident, takes you out of the race. Not even to the halfway point. What happened out there?
I think I'd seen Jeebus John come out of the pits on the soft compound. I was trying to set myself up to get a better entry, possibly get a run on him, and I just came a little wide, hooked the outside curb with my left front, and it pulled me around. Just silly move on my part.
All right, well, it seems to be a very frustrating time for you, to say the least. However, your teammate Zola was in position to fight for a lead of this race earlier. Do you think there's a chance for him to get into the race win? He knows what he needs to do. I don't have to sit there. I don't have to sit here and say it. He knows what needs to happen. I'm confident in his ability as a driver to get it done. We just need to put our heads down and push forward and get where we need to be. All right, well, shame to see you out as the McLaren struggle bus continues. Hopefully things can turn around.
Indeed. Thank you.
All right, well, that's the word from XRL Dragons. We are now down to 13 cars left on the circuit. For Beastie in frustration, because he pitted under that safety car. He should have waited another lap, but he pitted under that safety car. And now he is trapped a lap down. His teammate Flavor, though, this has worked great for him because he's had pace. He had a self-inflicted spin, though. But now he can go ahead, catch up to the back of the grid, and start fighting in earnest once more. The top 9 drivers already all caught up. Ryan Hurricane back there in 10th. He's about to catch up. And the drivers that really benefited from this is Jigsaw, Frisbee, and Torpedo. I think Jigsaw actually may have made a race-winning call, potentially. He is on medium rubber. Everyone, the 3 drivers behind, all on softs. Oh, and Jigsaw... Okay. Yeah. So now we see Low and Matrix are both pitting. So they won off the tires they were on. But anyways, the drivers behind Jigsaw, who's at the front, soft tires for Frisbee, soft tires for Torpedo. So while Frisbee will be faster than Jigsaw, the only good overtaking opportunity down the straight will not be in Frisbee's advantage. However, we've seen how Frisbee on even tires was able to put pressure on Frisbee, actually slightly worse tires. If Frisbee times it right, he might still be able to sneak the lead back from Jigsaw. However, again, Frisbee is on worse tires. The longer this race goes, Jigsaw has the tire advantage. The counterpoint, though, is that Frisbee can just jump on, because we're about 35 laps to the end. if Frisbee can run about 17, 18 laps on soft rubber, it would be a difficult run, but if he can run 17, 18 laps on soft rubber twice over, he would be in a good position. Jigsaw, though, doesn't have to worry about it. He can go on the mediums as long as he wants, jump onto softs for the final stint at his leisure. I think Jigsaw may have just snuck this win from Frisbee unless Frisbee can encourage the Alpine driver to make some mistakes. So the entire field is now caught up. Level 6 Beastian, sadly, a lap down, so he's going to want to see a lot more drivers drop out if he wants to bring home a points-paying finish. Safety car officially coming in this lap. Jigsaw, obviously, he'll hope to replicate what Zola did earlier and open up a massive gap on the rest of the field coming to the green, because if he does, then it will pretty much negate Frisbee's chance of fighting for the win, and Jigsaw can position himself to walk off with this race victory. Final corner. Frisbee's not letting Jigsaw get away that easily. Green flag. Oh, but Torpedo's going to throw a monkey wrench into it. Frisbee defends the inside. Torpedo goes outside, side by side for second position. Frisbee holds it. Farther back. Javiston is now on soft rubber. He'll be faster than the drivers ahead, but he's not able to keep the proper line, it seems, so Ocean Line and Waddington in a fight of their own, Mercedes versus Williams. Worson sends a dive on Ryan Hurricane, but then pulls out of it last minute, and Lowe goes off into the dirt. He'll fall to 11th now as Matrix, your points leader, goes back into 10th. He has 10 lap worn tires, so Matrix, obviously, he and Flavor in 10th and 12th, they'll have to pit way sooner than the drivers ahead. They're betting on a yellow flag, I imagine, coming sooner rather than later. Here comes Lowe fighting back on Matrix, side by side for a position, dives in, side by side on exit. But Matrix has the outside line, more time to put the power down, and he will move ahead. At the front, Frisbee, right there behind Jigsaw, barreling down the straightaway here. DRS not enabled yet, but Frisbee is staying within DRS range, utilizing the soft tires. A bit of a break for me as Ryan Hurricane is losing touch with Zola there in 7th. Mr. Worson and XRL Matrix behind him, waiting to make something happen. At the lead, though, Frisbee gets right within 2/10. He's got to run on the Alpine down the back straightaway, but will not engage. Trying to be smart with his defense. Well, I mean, with his offense, I should say. Oh, and Jigsaw gets a time penalty, and that works out well in Frisbee's favor. Frisbee has just set the fastest lap now, as beaten by Torpedo. DRS has been enabled as well. We won't see it this straightaway, but we'll see it in the next few. Ocean Line right there behind Waddington. Same engine in these cars. Waddington believed to be the stronger driver, but Ocean Line has a stronger car. Right now on relatively even tires and with DRS, I think that will be enough to get Ocean Line eventually ahead of Waddington. Farther back, Matrix wants to get by his teammate Worson, but But Worsen is on faster tires, and now Matrix has earned a time penalty. It's not going to help him at all. And the Ocean Lion gets by Waddington in the DRS zone, but Waddington fights back. Mercedes driver getting really aggressive, runs right into the back of the Williams, and that gives James, John, and Zola. So 4 different Mercedes-powered cars all on top of each other. This could get crazy. This could get hairy down the straight. You want to know something else that could get hairy? Look at this battle for the race lead. The Alpine slides wide. The Haas makes the lunge for it. Alpine cuts in front. The Haas is smoother through the corner. Right behind. Can't get it, make it work. Ocean Lion holds the position of 4th for the moment over Waddington. Jabez John has gotten behind Waddington, in fact, and Zola is there ready to capitalize. Frisbee now gets a time penalty, so the battle for 1st and 2nd now evens out a bit. Really being aggressive there. Torpedo has just set the fastest lap. He is barreling down on Frisbee and is looking to really throw a monkey wrench into Frisbee's shot at winning this race. Twitched by Jigsaw, twitched by Frisbee. Torpedo looking very stable there in 3rd. He's got a huge run on the Haas. Can't commit though going into 4, it seems. Ocean Lion has pulled away from Waddington. Waddington has done the same to Jabez John. So between Zola and Jabez John is just a fight between the 2 of them. Although Ryan Hurricane and XRL Matrix are in a position they can capitalize. Zola with a big twitch, and he saved that car by the skin of his teeth. .3 of a second, and it's all in favor of Frisbee right now. Down the straight, the Haas has DRS, but the Alpine has better straight line speed. Ocean Lion in 4th has just set the fastest lap. Here comes Frisbee, sending a hard dive to the inside, trying to force the Alpine to run uncomfortable lines. He's got it! The Haas goes into the lead now! The Haas has soft tires. Now he's probably past the peak of them, but they're not dead yet. So Frisbee will want to open up the biggest gap he possibly can until those tires are burned down. DRS in favor of Jigsaw and Torpedo lets the 2 of them close in on Frisbee just a bit. How does Frisbee run a defense against Jigsaw? Jigsaw took the pole position, led some laps early, jumped in to get off strategy, and he has, despite being off strategy, caught up to Frisbee, and for the moment, I think Jigsaw might be in a better position. Frisbee, though, has just set the fastest lap. Jigsaw now barreling down on him, though, down the straight. Does he make the move? Not close enough to commit this time. Torpedo is, though. Torpedo trying to force the Alpine offline. John gets by Waddington farther back. It's a DRS fight between the 2 of them. And it looks like John has it. Zola wants it all. Instant Sector 1, that's Low, the other AlphaTauri driver. No yellow flag, though. Contact between Wyington and Zola. Wyington holds the position for the moment. And the gap between first and second is opening larger and larger, so Frisbee utilizing the full use of the soft tires. Here comes Torpedo. He's gonna make a dive on the Alpine. Can't make it stick, but he's there. He wants that position. Oh, and Waddington's had an incident now. And that'll drop him back to 10th. Behind the Alfa Romeos. Near the front, though, for second and third. Torpedo has a great head of steam. There's nothing the Alpine can do. Torpedo goes up into second now. Frisbee, although he knows that his tires won't be able to outlast Jigsaw, he was betting on Jigsaw having to fight with Torpedo and falling behind him. That bet's worked out well. Frisbee, in the words of a great man named Kazuria Miller, Frisbee is playing the field like a damn fiddle. Ah! Low into the pits now. Jigsaw still within DRS range of Torpedo, though. But Torpedo is running away, utilizing the off-tire compounds to his advantage. Again, though, this battle will go back in Jigsaw's favor, but it's going to be difficult because although Jigsaw, without a doubt, is going to be faster than the Haas down the straights, and Low has had an instant coming out on fresh rubber. Not looking good for him, but he's able to get away without damage. Jigsaw, though, he will not be a whole lot faster than Torpedo compared to Frisbee. It's going to be a long fight for Jigsaw to overtake Torpedo for second. Even as Torpedo's tires fade away, he'll have the straight line advantage over the Alpine. Torpedo, having been moved to the AlphaTauri Honda, is the best thing that Frisbee could have possibly hoped for. Because it will force Jigsaw, even when he has better tires later on, it will force him to have to maximize the Alpine in ways that it normally does not. Low, another instant, he's around again. Jigsaw now has a time penalty, and Low spins again, and now he has damaged the front wing. This is going to trap him a lap down. As we see the leaders go by him now. Gone from bad to worse for XRL Low, and if it continues, it looks like he may lose 12th to level 6B stand as well. Farther back, Matrix and Ryan Hurricane fighting for 6 and 7. Matrix has the straight line advantage, and DRS. Ryan doesn't really have a whole lot in his favor. But it's not looking good for Matrix right now. He will walk out here with the points lead regardless. That is a given. But it's going to start shrinking because Torpedo is fighting for a podium position. Oh, big twitch from Matrix. And it's going to lose him all the time he had on Ryan Hurricane. No, he still has DRS. He's able to utilize that as a defense against Zola. Low gets a penalty for speed in the pit lanes. Not going to help him. And Low retires in the pits. So for BCN, he now goes up into 12th position. Now Torpedo, things are getting interesting because Torpedo is beginning to close down on Frisbee just a bit. And Jigsaw is not closing on Torpedo at the rate that he wants, so Torpedo now might be the next driver that could give Frisbee in the lead of this race some problems. As we look real quickly at time penalties, 6 seconds against Torpedo, 6 seconds against Jigsaw, 3 for Frisbee. So Frisbee still has the advantage in time penalties. DRS in the Alpine's favor. As long as Jigsaw's within DRS range of Torpedo, this will help him more and more as the race goes on. But right now, time penalties might end up being what sneak Jigsaw out of a good position. I think Jigsaw still has the best strategy to the end of the race, because he can choose to get onto soft tires at will, and he can try and pressure and force the drivers ahead to make mistakes as they're trying to maximize the stints on their soft tires. With that said though, if they're able to do that well enough, Jigsaw might not be able to overcome the extra 3 seconds of time penalties he has. The top three all closing back together right now. Frisbee has the advantage of clean air, so that will let him extend the life of the tires a little bit longer than everyone else on the circuit, well, at least of the top three drivers on the circuit, and he has less in time penalties, but the Haas is very weak in a straight line, and the DRS is in favor of Torpedo and Jigsaw against him, and if Frisbee starts fighting with them, it's going to start burning up his tires even more than he wants. I think Torpedo is in the worst spot of all three of them, but I think he's most likely though to walk out of here in the top three position, because if necessary, Torpedo could go ahead, elect to just fall into third, let Jigsaw and Frisbee fight it out for a bit, and he knows that he's locked into a podium position. Again, for Torpedo, he's fighting more for a championship. Matrix is back there in 8th, Torpedo is 3rd. If he can just kind of replicate this kind of performance over the rest of the season, Torpedo can pick away and gradually inherit the championship lead by season's end. There's the fight for the lead. Torpedo, Frisbee, Torpedo had the run on Frisbee with DRS. Frisbee's trying to squeeze Torpedo into uncomfortable lines, but unlike the Alpine, that AlphaTauri is relatively decent offline. So now it's changed, and Frisbee's strategizing that he was using against Jigsaw has now turned about to bite him. Torpedo is the one putting pressure on Frisbee, and as these two fight, will bring Jigsaw up into the fray. The big advantage that Frisbee has, he has clean air. Torpedo does not in the corners. That means that Torpedo's gonna burn through his tires a little bit faster than the Haas. DRS in favor of 2nd and 3rd. Does Torpedo make the dive? No, not this time. But he'll be in position to mate Kit when they come down the straightaway. Will Frisbee have any way to defend against? He opens up the gap to a little bit more than half a second. And that's Jigsaw! Your 3rd place man! Jigsaw has just had this, and that will likely take him out of contention for the race win. So now it's between Torpedo and Frisbee to the end. Torpedo no longer has to worry about someone behind, and James John has had an incident of his own as well in the same part of the racetrack. The soft tires have gone away for Jabus. For the lead, Frisbee defends the inside. He goes outside. Torpedo can't get by. Jabus spins again. He's backwards on the racetrack, trying to get forward, facing the right way, and he'll fall out of the points. Zola gets by Ryan Hurricane using DRS down the straight. So great move on his part. Ryan trying to fight back against the McLaren. Can't seem to do it. The tires on Ryan Hurricane are 8 laps older, so not looking good for him. Flavor now back into the points paying position. He's still on tires that he's run for a large chunk of this race on. When he finally elects to put, if we have another safety car and he throws on sauce in that safety car, look for Flavor to make up a bunch of positions potentially. For the race lead, though, it's now Frisbee versus Torpedo. The next closest man, Ocean Lion, is over 5 seconds out, and he's on medium tires as well. I think this has turned into a 2-man battle for this race win. Jigsaw's spin has just left him potentially out of race winning contention. What can Torpedo do to try and take the win from Frisbee? Torpedo has the advantage in straight line speed, but in almost every way, he's either even or worse off than the leading Haas. But look at his straight line speed. The straight line speed advantage he has is monumental. It's massive. Frisbee defends the inside. Look at the AlphaTauri Honda. He's able to make up a solid 2nd in the straightaway alone with some DRS. It's now his chance to push the Haas offline. The Haas is very comfortable though being offline it seems, and he'll hold the lead for a little bit longer. AlphaTauri fighting back, going into turn 4, can't get alongside. Time penalties, now Frisbee has 6 seconds, as does Torpedo. Ocean Lion in 3rd only has 3 seconds. Ocean Lion, if these two keep fighting and giving themselves time penalties, the race win may go in Ocean Lion's favor. Farther back on the circuit, this is another battle to watch. Matrix has gotten by Ryan Hurricane. but Matrix is on 23 lap 1 medium tires, Hurricane on 22 lap 1 medium tires. Ryan does not have DRS in his favor, but Matrix can't seem to, I don't think Matrix is going to be able to move very much higher up the grid. The way Matrix defends will define how he tries and holds his championship lead to the end of this race. At the front, Torpedo is a little bit closer to Frisbee than he was before. It's less than 9/10 this time. The DRS pops open. He'll charge down the straight. He's already down to 8/10, 7/10, 6/10, a half second, a 4/10. He's a third, a quarter, a tenth, and he got alongside again. But again, this time it's the Haas's chance. He gets to force the AlphaTauri to have to run in his aerodynamic wake a little bit longer. I'm getting chills. Now that's partially because it's only like 34 degrees outside and I don't have the heat on, but also because this is some of the most intense racing and intense fighting I've seen for a win here in a realistic league in a long time. This is reminding me a bit of how Frisbee charged up through the field from dead last to what should have been a win at Montreal, although that got stripped post-race sadly due to time penalties. But Frisbee, who had a win snuck away from him at Australia, a win taken away from him at Montreal, he's thinking maybe third time's the charm. Still 21 laps to go, but he is putting this together very well. And if Frisbee and Torpedo can go another 4 or 5 laps, they can throw on soft tires at will and run to the end of this race. They'll be faster than everyone else on circuit when they do so. All right, Torpedo about the same gap from Frisbee as he was last time. He's already barreling down with the superior straight line speed. Frisbee holds the inside, under braking. The Haas is ahead. Oh wow, AlphaTauri kind of stepped out a little bit sideways there, but the Haas has it. Farther back, Ryan Hurricane putting pressure on Matrix, but not in a position to really do anything. Also of note, battle for 9th and 10th. XRL Flavor, it's not an active value yet, but Flavor is closing on Mr. Worsen. Main fight continues to be this one here for the race lead. The soft tires falling away from May for Frisbee and Torpedo right now. Ocean Line is slowly closing on this duo. Torpedo's even closer this time than he was the lap before. This could be Torpedo's chance. He's barreling down. Frisbee defends the inside lane. He's not even going to try and block into the final corner. Torpedo, not final corner, first corner. Torpedo has it. Frisbee falls in line behind now. Torpedo's already trying to open up the gap. Five tenths in Torpedo's favor. Ooh, twitched out of the back from the Haas. So the aerodynamic wake not serving him well. But for Frisbee, he needs to avoid gain any more time penalties and just run these tires to the end of the stint to the best of his ability. Utilizing DRS to stay within range of Torpedo right now. It's 19 laps to go right now. If Frisbee can stay on track for about another 2 laps, he can split this final run to the end in half and just run on soft tires again to the end. Counterpoint though is that if Frisbee pits, he may be trapped behind drivers who will be on older tires that he won't be in a position to overtake. Frisbee has great pace, but is in the worst car for overtaking abilities. Alright, he's really close to Torpedo right now. Does he make a dive into one? Yes, he does! Does he commit? Yes, he does! Side by side! Runs offline, and he'll get him! He squeezed the AlphaTauri into an unhappy line, and Frisbee goes back into the lead! And while these two are fighting, Ocean Lion is closing, but not at the speed he'd want. Farther back, Ryan Hurricane is gained by Matrix, or at least trying to. We could see another race with double points finishing for the Haas drivers. Worsen pits out of 9th. So he'll put on another set of soft tires to last him to the end of this race. But he'll fall behind Javis John in the process. So it will be a fight between John and Worsen for 10th position. And it's gone bad for Torpedo. He was caught so badly off guard. He has hemorrhage time to Frisbee. He's way out of DRS range. He is plummeting and going to fall into the grasp of Ocean Lion. Torpedo realizes he can't go any longer. He is pitting. He wants off this set of tires. He'll throw on another set of softs to the end now. So Ocean Lion now inherits 2nd position. Lion is in a position different from Frisbee. Lion can stay out on the mediums as long as he wants. Right now, they're still nice and good. But the moment Frisbee pits, Ocean Lion will want to pit either that lap or the lap afterwards so he can get on soft tires and try to run down the Haas in the race lead. Ocean Lion has less time penalties than the Haas. If he can get within 3 seconds of the Haas, he will get possibly the race win on penalty countback. Matrix and Hurricane continuing their own little spat. Torpedo is behind these two. Now everyone from these two are guaranteed they'll have to pit again before the end of this race. The mediums, while they can technically last to the end of this race, they're going to be way off pace, and they could run the risk of falling off out of the point paying positions depending on how badly it is for them. So I imagine these two will pit. Does your race leader pit? The answer, no. Frisbee stays out one more lap. This is good news for Ocean Lion because Ocean can try and utilize the Mercedes superior handling to try and close in on the leading Haas a bit more. In the fight for 5th and 6th, though, do either of them pit this time? No, they're going to stay out. Hurricane still has DRS. He'll use it to close in on the Alfa Romeo down the straight. These two cars have the same engine, almost the same tires. Matrix, your points leader, just trying to maximize. To the outside goes the Haas. Can't make it stick. Tries the crossover through 2. The Matrix is planned well enough that Hurricane can't really do anything. So it's in his favor for a little bit longer. At the front, Ocean Lion is closed in. He's ripped out about 8/10 in his favor. This is working very well for Ocean Lion. Does Frisbee pit this lap? He has lost nearly a second to 2nd position this circuit alone. Ocean Lion now within 4 seconds. Or hovering at about 4 seconds. Does the leading Haas pit? No, he stays out another lap. What about Ocean Lion? He stays out another lap as well. Ocean Lion in the Mercedes seems to lose a good chunk of time in Sector 3, but he makes up a lot of time in Sectors 1 and 2, so this, I do think, will work out in Ocean Lion's favor as long as Frisbee stays out. Now, in Frisbee's defense, though, when Frisbee's now in a position that when he elects to go ahead and pit, he will have great tires that he can really push hard to the end of this race. Thing is, Frisbee doesn't want to push this current set of softs too hard and end up being the yellow flag that brings it out. Torpedo has caught this battle for 5th and 6th. What can he do with it? He is on soft tires. He is the driver that is fighting with Frisbee on circuit. But this traffic here will definitely hamper his ability to try and fight Frisbee for position. Torpedo can't get by Ryan Hurricane here, and Ryan will have DRS on the back straightaway, so I don't think he'll be able to overtake. But Torpedo can use fighting with Ryan Hurricane here as kind of a prototype on it to figure out how to overtake the Haas later on. He's going to go for it anyway. Side by side, he gets Ryan Hurricane Hurricane on the short DRS straight. Now he focuses on Matrix. Your race leader, Frisbee, is pitting. Ocean Lion stays out in no lap, but he'll want to pit in this next lap if he wants to make anything happen and try to fight for this race win. Torpedo hanging out behind Matrix. He wants to somehow end up ahead of Matrix and charged by Frisbee, and Matrix pits. And that means that Torpedo will have DRS and he won't have to worry about that car going down the straightaway. I think this is it. Yes, Torpedo will overtake Frisbee, and I think Torpedo's gonna walk out of this race with the race win. Ryan Hurricane is right there now ahead of Frisbee. Frisbee, though, is going to have to realize that Ryan Hurricane will be pitting sooner rather than later. But I think for Torpedo, this is just giving him the race win, because on time penalties, Frisbee and Torpedo are even. For Ocean Lion, he needs to pit this lap to throw on soft tires to the race end. Matrix has thrown on softs, and he's 8th. He's going to try and be barreling down on the likes of Waddington to try and get 7th back. The top 3, Ocean Lion, Jigsaw, and Zola, all 3 of these drivers will likely have to pit before this race is over. Ocean Lion, the sooner he pits, the better his chances of sneaking a win, or at least a podium, will be. Ryan Hurricane lets his teammate Frisbee by without issue. So it's going to be clean track now for the Haas. Frisbee has been very competent around the circuit, but does not have the straight line speed to match Torpedo. They'll have to play smart. They'll have slightly better tires than the AlphaTauri. No one in the top 3 pits yet. But the real fight for the race win is right now between the drivers in 4th and 5th. Torpedo has just set the fastest lap of the race. If Torpedo is fast enough, though, it ends up catching Zola, and one of the top 3 drivers elect to stay out on circuit to try and stretch to the end, that could really upset things for Torpedo and Frisbee. Because if Torpedo catches those drivers ahead, especially if he does not catch them in the DRS zone immediately, it could really harm his ability to get a good lap in, and will brain and suck that Haas right up to the rear bumper, and those 2 will have to figure out a way around them. I don't see any way that Ocean Lion, Jigsaw, or Zola wins this race by staying out to the end. The tires are just going to be that bad. But they could really end up playing a massive factor into who wins between these 2. Again, Frisbee is on tires that are about 2-3 laps fresher than Torpedo's, so Frisbee can push a little bit harder than the AlphaTauri to race end. Frisbee within DRS range now, so that speaks well for him. And Torpedo 2.5 seconds out from XRL Zola. XRL Flavor back there in 9th. He's run 35 laps on this set of medium tires. He could elect to come in, throw on some softs, and although he'll end up being behind Jabez Clown and Mr. Worsen, he'd be fast enough. I think he'd be able to overtake him to the end. The gap between 4th and 5th now down to less than 2 seconds, as we ride on board with Frisbee. This will be the fight for the race win. If Torpedo can get within DRS range of Zola in a DRS zone, then he can utilize the McLaren as a pick, and those McLarens are almost impossible to overtake. DRS in Frisbee's favor. He'll use it to keep pace with Torpedo down the straight. Yellow flag in Sector 2, that's Jabez John who has had an incident. And that's a full course safety car, and the entire race gets upended one more time to the end. And Jabez John, one of your championship contenders, is out of it. And for Waddington, who is in 7th, this is great because he'll go ahead, jump in, pit throw on softs to the end. Flavor in ninth will do the same thing. This is perfect for a lot of drivers farther back on the grid. How does this change everything for the leaders? Well, for this much, for Torpedo and Frisbee, they're both going to want to stay out, or at least consider staying out. Maybe not, actually. Ooh, we could see everyone at the front pit. If everyone at the front pits, this could get really interesting. If the leaders pit, if everyone pits, oh god, this race could have just been sniped away from Frisbee. I think this is the perfect situation for Ocean Lion, honestly. Ocean Lion coming into the pits. Jigsaw, who was fighting for a lead but kind of took himself out of it by spinning, he'll pit. And this could put him back into race-winning contention. Zola, who was leading laps earlier but kind of faded out of race-winning contention, now he's going to be back in it. Torpedo's paying, Frisbee's paying as well. I imagine Ryan Hurricane 6 will also pit. But Ryan is going to be behind Frisbee. There's going to be a stack-up. This is horrible for Ryan Hurricane because this will drop him right to the back due to a stack-up in the Haas camp. Will Matrix pit? Now Matrix will stay out. He'll be on slightly more worn tires, but he might be able to snipe a position off of at least Ryan Hurricane. So Matrix will now be up in 6th, and everyone will be on soft tires to the end of this race. And for Waddington and Flavor, this is great because they have no time penalties, and they'll be sucked right up to the back of the grid, ready to capitalize on any mistakes made at the front. But now, this win has basically been stolen from Frisbee, and it goes to Ocean Lion, Jigsaw, and Zola fighting to the end of this race. Now here's the thing though, when it comes to time penalties, Ocean Lion only has 3 seconds. Jigsaw has 9, Zola has 15. Torpedo has 6, Frisbee has 6, Matrix has 3, Ryan Hurricane has 3 as well. I think realistically, Zola is out of it. For Jigsaw, he's going to want to try and figure out a way to get by Ocean Lion fast. Either make Ocean Lion make a lot of time penalties early on, or open up a big 6-second gap on Ocean before the end of this race. So with everyone being on soft tires to the end, it's going to be extremely difficult. So a victory that should have gone down between Torpedo and Frisbee, now stolen from the both of them, and is now between Ocean Lion and Jigsaw to race in. As Waddington and Flavor still have yet to catch... Actually, I take that back. Waddington has caught the back of the grid. As Flavor and Worsen have to rush to catch the back of the grid, we'll be going green on lap 59. So we'll be 7 laps to go here at Catalunya. Just watching Flavor and then afterwards Worsen trying to rush to catch up to the back of the grid right now. Sad thing for Flavor and Worsen, they'll burn off a good healthy chunk of their tires trying to catch the back of the grid. There we are, Flavor has now caught the rear. So it's a question now of both Mr. Beastian, who's ahead but a lap down, and Mr. Worsen. How soon will it be until they can catch the back of the grid? Safety car officially coming in this lap. How does Ocean Lion bunch up the grid or try to run away from the grid coming to the green flag? It's Ocean Lion versus Jigsaw for the race victory. Lion has track position. Lion has fewer time penalties. Jigsaw, though, I think he may be in the good position. If he can stay within DRS range, he might be able to not only get by the Mercedes, but put a lot of pressure on him to snipe the win. Green flag is out. Mercedes immediately opens up the gap. Jigsaw, Zola, Torpedo, all relatively close. Frisbee actually is going to lose a position to Matrix. Side by side into the corner. Matrix does not care for Frisbee's games. He just holds the racing line, forces the Haas to stick wide. So Matrix is now by, and Jigsaw is going to lose a position to Zola. I didn't see that coming, but he's fighting back. Side by side for second and third. That is perfect for Ocean Lion. He's going to walk out of this with his race win because everyone behind is too busy fighting. Now Jigsaw gets pushed wide by Zola. Here comes Jigsaw. Here comes Torpedo. Torpedo has to back out of it, though. Frisbee fighting back on Matrix. He goes to the outside. Matrix runs to the back of Torpedo. Haas fighting. Haas gets him on the outside, and the Haas steals the position back. Outstanding job. Matrix trapped behind the Haas again in sixth. Now that means Waddington might have a shot to try and get by Matrix. But your race leader, Ocean Lion, has opened up an 8/10 second gap on Zola. Zola, though, has 12 seconds more of time penalties than Ocean Lion. For Zola, he's just trying to outrun time penalties to the end. It's 7 laps to go right now. Matrix time penalty. That's not going to help him. Ryan Hurricane there in 8th, trying to put some pressure on Waddington, but again, time penalty is not going to work out in his favor. Ocean Lion's now opened up more than a second gap on Zola. Jigsaw is the one closing back in on the McLaren. So Ocean Lion is going to walk out of this race with an easy victory due to a late race yellow. Torpedo now gets a time penalty as Frisbee is putting pressure on him. Ocean Lion, fastest lap, 1:19.420, as he's trying to open up a gap on the rest of the grid. DRS has now been enabled, so we'll start seeing DRS kicking in shortly. Zola trying to catch Lion. He just wants to get away from everyone else as far as he can to outrun his time penalties. But the gap is still in Ocean Lion's favor at the front. As we ride on board Frisbee, trying to barrel down on Torpedo. It's not looking good for Zola. With all the time penalties he has incurred, it looks like he may only finish in 9th position at best. Christ alive, Frisbee, right there. And Worsen has had an incident. That will probably trap him in 10th to the end of this race. Zola has DRS on Ocean Lion. McLaren versus Mercedes. McLaren's believed to be faster in a straight line. Frisbee, Torpedo fighting, and Frisbee got by him. I didn't think it was going to happen that soon, but it did. Frisbee is by Torpedo. right in front of Frisbee! And Jigsaw's out of it! And that's a full course safety car! And Jigsaw, who was en route to a potential top 5 finish, crashes out! And with this in mind, Ocean Lion will win this race by default unless Waddington can have an outstanding restart. It's yellow flag on lap 62 of 66. Yeah, when we go green, there will be no DRS. Period. We'll run 63 and 64 under the yellow flag. We'll go green 65. There will be no DRS to the end of this race. Does anyone bother to pit? I mean, if you're Mr. Worsen, surely you decide, if you have another set of softs, surely you decide to jump in just so that we can try and do something. But Ocean Lion is going to walk out of here with this race win as long as he does not choke to the finish of this race. Waddington in 6th is his biggest competition. If Waddington gets a good restart and can make some positions, Waddington will steal this race win. And for Matrix, this has actually worked out relatively well because Matrix is going to extend his points lead over Torpedo because Torpedo has more time penalties than Matrix. So as long as Matrix just hangs out behind Torpedo on time penalty, he'll be back ahead and Matrix will further his championship point lead. And that's been where Matrix's strength has been. Even when he's had a bad start or a bad instant, he's able to keep it together, keep his head down, and just grind his way back up near the front of the field. Again, we're going to go green with only 2 laps. There will be no DRS. Every overtake you see will be 100% driver ability. Just want to check. Everyone is good on fuel. Yeah, everyone is good on fuel. So everyone's probably going to turn the car up to rich. In fact, as I look near the front, as I look everywhere, it looks like everyone except Mr. Worsen is at full ERS, and Worsen will get full ERS under the safety car. So I take the back. It looks like we'll be going green on lap... No, we're going green on lap 65. Yep, I'm right. And Beastian is pitting, so Beastian wants to take point for fastest lap. He's already locked into 10th, and he has completed more than 90% of this race. So even if he crashed out, he's locked into 10th. He just wants to take fastest lap points as well. So we look at time penalties. Torpedo obviously will want something bad to happen to Matrix, otherwise Matrix will further his points lead. Zola needs a lot of chaos if he wants to walk out here any better than 9th. Or any better than 8th, I should say. Waddington and Flavor have an outside chance of winning this race, but that all depends on Ocean Lion having an accident, and for Flavor, he needs Waddington to have an accident as well. Otherwise, Ocean Lion's going to walk out of here with this race victory. He just needs to not choke. If Ocean Lion chokes and starts fighting with drivers in the midfield, or behind him, Waddington will walk out of here with this race win. Safety car officially coming in this lap. It will be a 2-lap sprint to the end. No DRS. It's all going to be driver ability. 9 drivers fighting for a position. 10th place, level 6 BCN will be fine to try and take fastest lap point if it's at all possible. Ocean Lion really backing the grid up behind him. I have up on board the gap to the leader so you can see how close Waddington and Flavor are to Ocean Lion and if they will have any chance of taking the race win. Pace car is in. Out of the final corner. Green flag is in the air. Zola immediately putting pressure on the Mercedes. Contact! The Haas is there! Frisbee wants it! Frisbee's gonna sneak by! Frisbee is by now! And this is bad for Ocean Lion! This means that Waddington is now in position! He might be able to take home the race win! And Frisbee is there in second. He knows that the victory is not in the cards because of time penalties, but for God's sake, he wants to be the first man across the line if it's at all possible. But the McLarens are impossible to overtake unless they make a mistake. Frisbee wants to prove that idea wrong, though. Yellow flag at sector 2. Mr. Worson is off. Look at the Haas pulled right up behind the McLaren. Worson's off again. Haas versus McLaren. Both of them fine for different reasons. Frisbee wants the pride of being the first to at least cross the line. Here we are, side by side down the straightaway. The McLaren's gonna outdrag the Haas, but Frisbee is absolutely maximizing it. White flag is in the air. One final lap. Ocean Line is there in third. He wants to try and get the win, but he needs to get by both these drivers. It's not happening. He's being badly held up. Zola is not having a good time through turns 1, 2, or 3. Gap between first and sixth, 2.1 seconds. And Zola has 15 seconds of time penalty. Waddington's not even going to be one of the first 5 drivers to cross the line, but he's going to walk out of here with what looks like the race win. Frisbee, this is his last chance to get by Zola. Not close enough. Zola will be the first man across the line. But with all this time penalty, he's going to be relegated to 8th. Look at how that Haas closes. Frisbee very confident and competent with that car in the corners. Worson gets a time penalty, but he's so far off the pace it really doesn't matter. As they come to the line, the first man to cross is going to be XRL Zola. But it won't matter, because Frisbee will leapfrog him, Ocean Line will leapfrog him, and Waddington will take home the race win. It will be Waddington, Ocean Line, and XRL Flavor taking home podium positions. Another double points day for the Haas team, as Ryan comes home 4th, Frisbee comes home 5th. Matrix will extend his points lead over Torpedo. He'll come home 6th, while Torpedo gets 7th. Zola finishes 8th, Mr. Worson will come home 9th, and BCM will come home 10th. All right, hopefully our race winners come in. Hopefully all of our podium finishers will come in to talk with us. As you see, the podium right there are podium contenders, or podium finishers, but definitely this will be a race that will probably be shrouded in some level of controversy due to the way that the time penalties and the late race yellows bunched up the field and meant a lot of drivers who weren't really actively fighting for the win ended up walking off with the victory here. So that should be noted, I guess. But anyways, let's see, did Waddington join the party yet? No, I'm gonna try and get Waddington in more time here. Also, Ocean Line gets fastest lap, so good job on him. Until Waddington, there we are. There Waddington wins now. All right, want to go ahead real quickly and talk to our top 3 finishers, starting with our race winner, Waddington. Waddington, go ahead, include your audio. It's an outstanding victory, but under very controversial circumstances, because frankly, you weren't even in position to win the race. What happened out there?
What didn't happen is the question. I even had a moment. I thought I blew it up when I had a spin because I just dropped out at DRS train. And it's vital at this track that you stay inside that DRS train. And I dropped out of it, and I was just losing seconds each lap. And then thankfully I got saved by a safety car and having no time penalties.
Indeed. Absolutely great run coming to the end, considering that you weren't even one of the first few cars to cross the line, but you managed the gap in those last 2 laps to come home with the victory. Great job there, mate.
Thank you.
All right, we also want to go ahead and talk to our second place finisher, Ocean Lion. Lion, it's been a rough season for you in the Mercedes. You almost had a victory, choked a bit on the final restart, but still came home second. What do you have to say about your race?
Well, it was up and down because, well, I started like 14th, then made my way up to like 4th, and then spun all the way to like back, and then in my way through the field, was leading for like 20 or so laps, and then came home to finish second.
All right, well, sadly, not a great restart. What happened on the final restart that let you get overtaken by so many guys there?
I think it, well, I didn't, I don't actually know.
Alright, well, fair enough. I can understand that. Alright, but anyways, second place, outstanding job, also fastest lap. So, great job, great points day for Mercedes, especially considering you're the only Mercedes to be able to finish today off. Take it home with a great beam of pride. Now, third place finisher, XRL Flavor. Flavor, a finish that finally reflects the pace that you had, but your race was really, really up and down and all around. Walk us through your event.
Well, I span, and I thought I'd done it. Safety car was, I nearly lapped. I don't know if anyone saw it, hopefully I've got it on my clip, but I think there's a clip of Zola reaching into his pocket while he's driving and getting a banana skin and throw it over his back, and I think I slipped on that, but yeah, brilliant for me, mate, absolutely brilliant, really good. I just kept going, kept my head down, and yeah, I didn't think I'd quite get third, but awesome. Absolutely great.
All right, well, I do want to go ahead and bring this up because I absolutely love starting the pot. You and XRL Dragon having a little bit of a spat since the Yas Marina race. After that, you have outscored and outqualified him 2 out of every 3 times. It's 4 in your favor, only 2 in his thus far, and with a fantastic podium today. I'm just going to ask, do you think there's a chance you could possibly run him down in the points?
I'm just glad you mentioned that because I was going to bring it up myself, to be fair. Yeah. I don't know now, mate. I'm just driving, trying to improve, trying to get better. This is without the new equipment, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the new seasons and seeing how we can go on there. But yeah, regarding realistic, I'll just keep going and keep trying to score and keep trying to be clean, really, as clean as I can. Yeah.
All right, well, outstanding
Thanks,
job,
everybody.
15 points in your favor. Also, your teammate came home, finished the race in the top 10 positions
That's
as
brilliant.
well, so double points day for Red Bull.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Congratulations to Waddington and the other one, Ocean Line. Ocean. Cheers. Cheers, thank you, mate. I'm gonna.
Right.
I might even get the jacuzzi out in a bit, to be honest.
All right, and now we turn to XRL Matrix. Matrix, early on in this race, major championship implications, or so we thought, as you weren't even able to make it out of the first round of qualifying. But when the race finished, you finished ahead of your closest championship rivals and will extend your points lead, leaving today's race. What do you have to say about today?
It was a shambles. The only positive thing I can take away from that is being ahead of Torpedo, as you said. Extending it, but wasn't great. Like midway through the race, the first safety car, and the whole, I think it was BC trying to overtake because he was lapped, and I got a damaged wing because of that. And I was sitting nice in 5th. But messy race, but I'm still happy to beat Torpedo.
All right, well, Again, you opened up the championship lead. That's easily, without a doubt, the biggest plus. Going forward, do you think you can continue to open up this championship lead, or at least keep it stable like this to season's end?
I got told it was Baku next. So, no. No, not in that long straight. That Alpha's just a waste of time. Maybe in
I
the
mean,
corners,
you do
that might help.
have... To be fair, though, you have almost 2 full races of points over him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have some, I think right now you're staying at something like 45 or 46 points over him. With this race's finish taken in consideration as well.
That's quite cool. Alright, I could just skip a race.
I would recommend against it.
We'll see what happens, but that's good to know then, suppose. But yeah, I'm not happy with the race.
Alright, well, either way, great job bringing it home today, though. Also, double point stay for your team as well. So.
Yeah, that's good. Try to get the Alfa Romeo up the table. Missed the Aston
Alright,
Martin.
I'm gonna try and get Frisbee in here one more time because I was not able to get him in earlier because he put on a heck of a show out there, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's nothing against the actual race winners, but he honestly deserved to win that race, and that final yellow flag screwed him out unfairly. Right? But if Frisbee's not willing to jump into the party, well, I can't. Oh, here we are. Now Frisbee is in. All right, Frisbee, go ahead. Include your audio. I just want to say, Frisbee, at least in my opinion, you deserve to win that race with the absolutely amazing strategic clinic you put on from start to finish. You were doing moves that we've not seen in Formula 1 for over a decade. You were pulling off stuff as if DRS didn't even matter. It was amazing what you were doing. It's a shame you were not even able to finish podium, though. Walk us through your race from your perspective.
I just had a mad good race pace. This is probably my best track by a bit. But yeah, just a Haas was way too slow in a straight line to do anything. Like even in the last few laps, I could have just got past Zola. Able to win pretty.
I mean, you say the Haas couldn't do anything in a straight line, but you were, with a little bit of DRS help, you were able to sneak by and pressure other drivers in Alpines, in McLarens, in Mercedes, in AlphaTauri throughout the entire first sector. Yeah, it might not be fast in a straight line, but like, have you ever seen the video of Takuma Sato doing the overtake on Alonso at Montreal? Yeah. It was like that, watching you almost every lap.
I was just driving like mad. That's probably one of my best races that I've ever done on any of the games, to be offensive wise, and I was just overtaking in places. Sector or turn 2. I had a few nice.
Alright, well, still outstanding drive for you, being able to come home. Also, double point stay for the Haas team as well, so that should help in its own right, although sadly it was your teammate who ended up being ahead of you due to time penalties. So again though, late race yellow completely upends the end of a race. Time penalties again screw you out of what should have been a victory. This is 3 times it's happened now, and most of the Haas's best tracks are behind it. Do you think there's any chance you'll be able to pull home a victory in this car before season's end?
Well, if I get some of the luck that everyone else is getting under these safety cars, like maybe we can, but on pace I don't know. There's a surprise that I was on pole. I don't know how I had pole by like 4/10, but maybe Baku. Whenever Baku is, because it's just slow speed corners until that long streak.
Alright, well, I believe Baku is next week, so maybe then. Maybe fourth time's the charm for you guys. Alright, but anyways, thanks for being willing to jump in, speak with us. Outstanding performance today. I cannot express enough. It was so amazing just watching what you were able to pull off today, from both just an entertainment angle, from being able to watch, because you could see some of the moves you would do, and it would be set up a lap, half a lap, 2 laps beforehand. It was amazing watching it being set up, and your defense. I'm just saying, like, driver of the day. If you do not get voted driver of the day, just with how well you ran this entire race on defense and offense alone, then screw it, because I say you should be driver of the day. I don't care what anyone else says.
I'm definitely the driver of the season.
Yep. Right.
Yeah, you go away with your cheeky wins. Come back to
Alright,
Haas.
but regardless, thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. Also, I guess this will be Nikita Mazepin's great farewell from F1. This will be the best his car will ever probably perform. So,
Yeah, that's the best we've got from him.
alright, well, thank you very much for being willing to step in and talk with us. And like I said, it's a bloody shame you weren't allowed to properly fight for the end of this race with Torpedo, because it looked like it would be a fantastic battle to the end.
He's a scary man to race with.
Alright, well, farewell. And for us here in the broadcast booth, that will wrap up our broadcast. It's a little bit short of 3 hours. The main tiers of XRL are all on a break in between seasons, so then really the only thing that's really going on during the weekend is the Realistic League. So at 8 p.m. UK time, next Saturday will be the next Realistic event. Until then, I've been SameLayer13, sign off. Thank you very much